Toyota Wall of Fame weekend comes to a close here this afternoon as the Phils take on the Colorado Rockies. All fans receiving the Wall of Fame Fathead. It's a great keepsake to remind of some of the great players the Phillies have put up on the Wall of Fame, including this year's recipient, Jim Thome. It's Weekends with Schmidt, presented by Acme Markets. Hi, everybody. I'm Tom McCarthy, along with Mike Schmidt, Matt Stairs. We get set for the finale of this three-game series, and the Phillies on the heels of 3 straight wins, including 2 against these Colorado Rockies. And last night, Matt, it was about the offense, yes, but it was also about the 16th time in Phillies history that somebody reached 30 saves.
Well, Jeanmar Gomez has been unbelievable this year. Started the season with, okay, maybe be the 7th, maybe the 8th inning guy. All he's done is jumped in and become the closer, and he has done a very nice job. Coming into this season, he had 4 career saves, but last night he had that backdoor slider working very nice. Arenado with a high fastball, and then again, finishing the game off with a backdoor slider. He's not a typical power closer. He throws 91, 92, but the key is he goes out there and throws strikes. And look at the numbers right there. He's 30 saves this year, 91% save percentage.
91% save percentage, and as you said, a guy that wasn't anticipated to be the closer at the start of the season for the Phillies, but he's been one of the real bright spots for the Phillies here in 2016. Speaking of bright spots, well, the Phillies, if you read all reports, have an awful lot of depth down in the farm system. They have an awful lot of depth here in the big leagues. And how about this bullpen over the last couple weeks?
Well, yeah, I made the comment last night how exciting spring training was going to be next year. And the reason is I was like taken back by these arms that are coming out of the bullpen one after another. And, you know, Neris didn't even pitch last night. And Manny just talked about the great year Gomez has had. If you're a Phillies fan, start thinking about a flight to Clearwater next spring, because it's going to be an exciting time for Phillies baseball. And you talk about position players. Well, you know, I think the only position next year right now we could say is solid is third base with Maikel Franco. Everywhere around the field, there's a young, talented player. Not only the ones we have on our team right now, but in the minor leagues. Both Reading and the AAA club are vying for league championships. We have 2 guys, Hoskins and Cousins, both with 30 home runs and 100 RBIs in Reading. Man, exciting time ahead for Phillies baseball. We may be a lot closer than we think.
Well, let's hope that we are a lot closer than we think going into 2017. The Phils, though, have their sights set on a series sweep here this afternoon against the Rockies. Tyler Chatwood, his 22nd start, will be opposed by Adam Morgan, coming off an 8 2/3 inning performance down in AAA. Lineups at first pitch when we return. Phillies baseball is brought to you by Xfinity. Xfinity X1 will change the way you experience TV. By Toyota, the annual clearance sale is going on now. Toyota, let's go places. By Citizens Bank. The next time you have a question about money, don't keep it to yourself. Ask a citizen. And by Independence Blue Cross. Live fearless. Learn more at IBX.com. big leagues for the first time since he faced the Colorado Rockies. That was in Denver right before the All-Star break, greeting one of the members of the starting 9 who are out on the field before the start of today's ball game. It's the finale of this 3-game series between the Phillies and the Rockies. Let's take a look at the Rockies lineup. It's brought to you by Xfinity. Xfinity X1 will change the way you experience TV. Blackmon, LeMahieu, and Arenado. Ryan Rayburn starts at first base. David Dahl bats 5th and is in left field. Nick Hundley, the catcher, bats 6th. In the bottom third of Parra, Adames, and Tyler Chatwood. And they will face Adam Morgan. 1-7 in the big leagues. 6-1 in the minor leagues. An ERA of 6.65 here. Matt, one of the big issues for him, he's allowed a lot of home runs in a short period of time as a big league pitcher.
Well, he has, and it's all about his placing that fastball, hitting the corners. Take a look at the scouting report. 351 average versus his fastball. It's up in the zone, and there's too much plate. But I would like to see him get back to using that great changeup that he has and just relax. It's your second time up here. You don't have to impress anybody. Just go out there and pitch your game like you did in the minor leagues.
Pretty good opportunity for him because with the injuries, he's probably going to be here for the remainder of the season. It is a hot one today. Temperatures are in the 90s at the start of today's ball game. So you got to stay as cool as possible in the stands and also on the playing field. Stay hydrated as well. Maybe take a nap in the sunshine. Those cold cloths have been utilized all around the ballpark that young lady is utilizing in the stands today. Time now for our Nissan keys to the game. Mike?
Okay, mine is wild card, exclamation point. You know, we're only 6.5 games out of the postseason. Now, I know there's a few teams involved in that, but maybe we should start thinking about that a little bit, and the urgency to win might just take on a little bit more emphasis. You know, the urgency to win.
Mm-hmm. Mine is simple. Same approach as July 10th. Versus Chatwood, they attacked his fastball early, and they got a slider up in the zone. He is basically a 2-pitch pitcher.
Well, here's Charlie Blackmon to lead things off. The first pitch strike for Morgan. And now it's no balls and 2 strikes. And by the way, the team that is directly ahead of the Phillies in the wild card race are these Rockies, who are 5 games behind in the wild card. Rockies 10.5 games out in the West. Blackmon's had a nice series. He's 4 for 8. Walt Weiss has the lineup card again after being ejected from last night's ball game. Tyler Anderson was thrown out, throwing at Maikel Franco. Eric Cooper, the third base umpire today, is the one who did the ejection. Gary Cedarstrom, the crew chief, he spoke to the media last night and said, listen, there's 3 things that you could do as an umpire in that spot. And he did one of those 3 things. He decided to eject the pitcher. He felt like that was warranted. You can either not do anything, you can warn both benches, or you can eject the pitcher. And he decided to eject the pitcher. Just a bit outside, 2-2.
Well, we talked about it last night, and I would agree with Coop. He did the right thing. Guy hits a 3-run home run his first at bat, gets drilled the next at bat with the pitch not even close.
Down the left field line, out of play.
Were you here with Ron the other night?
Tell you what, you'll think twice before you're throwing inside that far to a guy who hit a home run your first at bat.
Yeah, Anderson's contention was it was a cutter that got away, but as we saw the overhead,
Yeah.
it was.
Well, it got away all right. The wrong area.
Well, let me
code.
play devil's advocate, boys. Had the pitch been more of belt high, ribs, under the shoulder, under the arm, I'd be all over what you guys are saying. I'd be with you. But seeing as the pitch was like a foot off the ground and whoa.
Odubel drops the easy fly ball. And a base runner for the Rockies out of the chute.
Yeah, like the pitch was a foot off the ground, and so I'll go the opposite way on it just for the sake of argument. Anyway, yeah, that's a ball Odubel probably should have caught. Sometimes when you're running that outfield, Matt, the ball bounces.
Yeah, when you run flat-footed, he actually took a peek right there to Freddie Galvis, called him off, but just hit him in the heel.
Things have not gone particularly well for Odubel in recent weeks. So runner at first with nobody out, and the batter will be DJ LeMahieu. LeMahieu is 3rd in the league at hitting. Blackman, who just reached on the error, is 7th in the league in hitting, and Carlos Gonzalez, who's off today because of that sore ankle, day game after a night game, he's 4th in the league in hitting. So the Rockies have 3 players in the top 10. They're one of 2 teams that have 3 players in the top 10 in hitting. Miami is the other one. 2 balls and no strikes.
And there's another team with 2.
Yep. The top 2 hitters, the Washington Nationals. LeMahieu just asked Stu Cole to go through the signs again. Blackman does have 15 stolen bases.
On that top 10 discussion, got to credit old Barry Bonds down there in Miami for he's the hitting coach.
Runner goes, pitches high. Oh, it's a strike. And Blackman is safe at second base. Stolen base number 16 for Charlie Blackman.
So we got a 2-0 change of sorts here, or some kind of hanging off-speed pitch that I think you saw it the same way I did. Looked like it was a little high, but called a strike.
That was awfully close. Larry Bowa is on the phone. Watch it again. See where the foot is.
Well, the foot slides,
He slides into the foot.
Yeah, so he looks like he might be out on that one. See if Pete wants to use his challenge.
Oh, that's going to be close.
It is close.
His toe got there. I'll try it.
Yep, they are going to review this. So Gary Cederstrom will trot in from second base. He and Eric Cooper will put the headphones on. Now, this is a gutsy review at this point in the game. First inning. Because if they do not win the challenge, they're done until at least the 7th inning as far as reviews go. That's why sometimes managers don't do it at this point if it's really close, but they must feel like there is evidence to show that Blackman is out on that play. So New York will take a look at it. Cederstrom to your left, Eric Cooper to your right.
The key here is Blackman's heel hits Cesar Hernandez's foot.
Right.
But where does the toe end up after the slide?
And was there a tag before the toe? Yep.
Right.
Watch it again here.
I tell you,
that's really close. That shot there looks like he got him. Now they can blow it up and look at it a little closer.
You can see Freddie Galvis right away was pointing in to say, hey, challenge that.
And, you know, the way the angle looks there, Gary Cederstrom's view was blocked. So here we go. Here's the decision. He is out at second base. Well, that is a great call.
Wow.
I have to admit, that's gutsy. Blackman trots off. You cannot argue. So good communication between Larry Bowa and the video room. So the Phillies do retain their challenge.
2 good things happened there. We got what looked to be ball 3 called strike 1, and a foot in front of a foot at second base.
And a minute 33 review. And LeMahieu lifts it in the air, right center field. Another chance for Herrera. He and Altair. And Odubel makes the catch. 2 outs. Boy, how uplifting is that for Adam Morgan that you get a throw out at second base with this tough offense?
Well, it's huge. I mean, you go from a 2-0, like Schmitty said, to a 2-1 count, to a throw out, from a 1-2-6 put out, or 5 put outs, or a 4. And now next pitch, you have a weak fly ball to center field. Now you have 10 pitches, 2 outs.
And Nolan Arenado, the batter. Arenado 1 for 14 on this road trip for the Rockies, and hitless in this series so far.
Yeah, you can't hold this guy down forever, but I know we need to do it for just one more game.
He had an excellent series when the Phillies were in Denver. He hit for some power. Even though he's hitless in this series, he is 5 for 26 against the Phils. So he had 5 hits out in Denver, a few extra base hits. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Spoiled foul toward the sweet level. To center field again. Odubel Herrera ventures back. He's a few steps from the track, and the side is retired. So it turns out to be a 15-pitch first inning for Adam Morgan. He gets out of it pretty comfortably. We'll head to the bottom of the first. Rockies nothing, and the Phillies coming up. Getting their second look at Tyler Chatwood, who's out on the mound warming up. There is Cesar Hernandez, the leadoff hitter for the Phils. Let's take a look at the rest of the Phillies lineup, brought to you by Xfinity. Xfinity X1 will change the way you experience TV. After Hernandez, it'll be Altair and Franco. Then Ryan Howard, the cleanup batter. Cameron Rupp hitting 5th. Odubel Herrera 6th. In the bottom third of Galvis, Paredes, and Adam Morgan. And they will face Chatwood, who is 10-7 on the year, a 3.58 ERA. 123 to third innings, not necessarily a strikeout guy. Likes day games, likes road games.
Likes to walk some guys too. 53 walks this year. Does have a pretty good fastball, sitting around 92 miles an hour. But how about those numbers on the road this year? 6-0 with a .130. I'm so happy that's working now to tell you.
Yeah.
1.3 ERA.
0-1 pitch to Cesar, hit foul off to the left. It's 0-2.
If you break down his splits this year on percentages of pitches thrown, fastball 72%, slider 21%. Everything else adds up to 6.3%.
So you're saying he's a fastball slider
Fastball
guy.
slider. Slider up, fastball. Look for it.
Cesar, you see, had 4 hits. Has 4 hits in this series, including a triple. He's also scored 4 runs. 1 ball and 2 strikes to Hernandez. And a strike 3 call. So he's down looking. 1 away. Speaking of Chatwood, Greg Murphy's got more on the fastballs of the right-hander.
And they're pretty good, Tom, as you guys were just touching on. You know, you take a look at different pitchers and you look at their numbers, you try to figure out trends and things that are going on. When you look at Tyler Chatwood, one thing that really jumps out at you is how different of a pitcher he is away from Coors Field. Take a look at just what he does with his fastball. At home, they're hitting .313 against him, a .508 slugging percentage. But then he heads out on the road and he's got a .184 opponent's batting average against and just a .250 .350 slugging percentage. That puts him amongst the tops in all of baseball. Only Steven Strasburg is better on the road with his fastball than Tyler Chatwood. And you take a look at that list, there's some pretty good names. Arrieta on that list, Colon, Johnny Cueto is on that list as well. So he is a very different pitcher away from Coors Field. For whatever reason, it's a tough place to pitch, obviously, but he's been very good on the road this year, guys.
Foul ball, and it's 1-2. Well, talking to some of the folks in the clubhouse, they said it's been a few innings at home that have really caused his numbers to jump up. But those numbers are staggeringly different. I guess a few innings could do it, but a few games can do it too. 1 ball and 2 strikes to Altair, and he takes up and in 2-2.
Yeah, really, there could be a few things. He might pitch away from contact at home because of the ballpark. On the road, he's more aggressive in the strike zone with his fastball. Doesn't nibble as much.
Swing and a miss. Back-to-back strikeouts with that slider. 2 outs.
Might like room service.
Yeah, could like room service. Here's Michael Franco. He was bringing the lumber, brought to you by Yellowwood brand pressure-treated pine. In last night's ball game, the 3-run home run. It was a blast to center field, just to the left of the 409 sign. It hit that utility platform out in left center field and then shot into the bushes in center. And a liner foul, and it's 0-1. There you go.
Off speed, up the zone. Nice swing, crushes that ball to straightaway center.
See if he can bring the lumber again in the first inning. Fouls it at the plate, 0-2.
Off his back knee.
Yeah.
Man, does he make adjustments in the batter's box where he stands as related to closeness to the plate? Because he looks awful close to the plate right now.
No, he's about the same.
I think a lot of people think that's his next step, is making some adjustments, particularly with somebody like this. Well, I was surprised they went toward the inner part of the plate on that, but Chatwood's still able to get the awkward out. And the Phillies go down in order here in the first. 1, 2, 3. We'll head to the second inning. Scoreless. Phillies and the Rockies. Final time this year. Dodgers are coming to town for a 3-game series. All 3 games are at night. You can get tickets by going to Phillies.com. Get a chance to see Chase Utley for the only time this year here at Citizens Bank Park. And don't forget the Chase Rice concert that's coming up at the end of that series. Ryan Rayburn will lead it off. Rayburn playing first base today. Now the first pitch for Morgan is a bit outside. Rayburn batting cleanup. Usually it's Cesar and Otto that's batting cleanup, and Gonzalez bats third. They're still going conservatively with Carlos Gonzalez's swollen ankle. They don't want him to re-injure it. They want to make sure that he is healthy for the rest of the season. So that's why he is not playing today.
Well, a good time to give him a rest. Night game last night. Day game. Lefty on the mound. Not that it matters to him.
Dahl is on deck for the Rockies. An off-speed pitch inside, and that's the first walk issued by Morgan. And David Dahl will come up. Dahl 2 for 9 in the series. The 2 hits, 2 doubles. So he has 3 doubles, 3 triples, 3 home runs in the early going of his major league career.
I don't get it. 3-1 leading off the inning. 3-1 changeup. Ball 4.
Yeah.
Interesting.
It's kind of like the last inning with the 2-0 pitch, wasn't it? That's the changeup that wound up threw the guy out trying to steal. 1 ball, 1 strike.
Isn't that called pitching away from contact?
Morgan, the last time he faced the Rockies, allowed 3 home runs, 6 earned runs overall. 1-2. Got some movement on that pitch. Went 5 innings that day. That was the end of a rough stretch for Adam Morgan that resulted in his ERA sitting at 6.65. To center field again for Odubel Herrera. And he makes the catch. Stay on your toes today, Odubel.
That's 4 of 6 for him, right?
Yeah. Yep. And all different personalities. That one was kind of knuckling out there. Here's Nick Hundley. He caught game 1 of the series. He's 2 for 8 on the road trip. Over the Phillies dugout and out of play. It's 0-1.
See, that pitch right there is what we saw a lot of from Adam Morgan last year. 89, good movement, down in the zone. You think you're going to be able to barrel it, and it just tails out of the zone. It seemed like earlier in the year he was 91, 92. He'd hit 93 once in a while. So a lot of his fastballs were up in the zone. He wasn't getting that good late movement, and I think it really caused, 1, the fastball to be flat, and 2, it really hurt his changeup. I mean, this year the league's crushing his changeup at 396 because he's thrown it harder than he did last year, and he's not getting as much movement.
Yeah, I think everybody was so enamored that his velocity was up. You know, sometimes we get tied into velocity too much.
And I agree. And I honestly, I'd rather have a guy that has, like that first pitch, 89. The last pitch was very good with location as well, down the zone, late movement at 90, 91. Than a guy that's throwing 92 and it's flat.
Out to right field. Heading back is Altair, backpedaling toward the scoreboard. Makes the catch, couple strides away.
That was a change up there, I think. Poked it out to right field. A little bit up.
But it still had a little bit of movement, though. Like it was up in the zone, but it still started as a strike, went out of the zone, and really to hit that ball as well as he did, you basically got to be looking for it and stepping across home plate to hit it. So I know it's early. We've played an inning and 2/3, but I like the movement of his fastball. A couple pitch selections might be a little question mark, but the fact is that his slider's down the zone, and he's got that nice little movement with the 89, 90 mile an hour fastball.
Well, let's compare somebody like Cliff Lee to Adam Morgan. We're talking 2 or 3 miles per hour more on the fastball?
Yeah, Cliff's 94.
94.
And are we talking the older Cliff Lee or in the prime Cliff Lee? Because in the prime Cliff Lee was 95, 96 with cutter and the big curveball.
Because I know he used to get the ball and whoom, get the ball, whoom. And then you go, how the heck can he just keep throwing these fastballs? Strike one, strike two, foul off. Minimizing his pitches.
Yeah, he had an excellent pace to him when he was on. 1 ball, 1 strike to Gerardo Parra. And a foul tip, 1-2. Adames is on deck.
Bounce it.
Back toward the middle, a base hit it to center field. So the Rockies have runners on first and second with 2 men down here in the top of the 2nd inning. Rayburn stops at second base.
This is the 1-2 slider where you want it down the zone, but unfortunately he missed it up.
Yeah, but to me that delivery looked more like he's just kind of steering it into the strike zone rather than snapping it off for a strikeout. You know what I'm saying? He's kind of lazy arm.
I would agree.
Well, here's Adames. Adames hitting 190 with a home run and 10 runs batted in. He is 0 for 2 so far in limited action in this series.
Careful of the first pitch.
That's good location right there on that one.
Very good. Another very good pitch.
And that first one, of course, sets that next one up. He's looking that same pitch again. I'm not going to take it, and he just kind of puts the little Greg Maddux on him. This teases him a little 2 or 3 inches further out.
That got the home plate umpire, I believe, or did it get Cameron Rupp?
Hit Cameron right in the face mask. Cameron takes it. Watch how he drops his head and he just kind of like shakes like the Bronco ball. He's like, I'm good. Give me the ball.
Umpire was already past him, giving him a little time.
Well, we got a second here. I want to send out best wishes to my old skipper, Dallas Green, who I understand is not doing well. He's under the weather. He's getting some care for some. Don't know the details of it, but Dallas was unable to make it this weekend, and just send out best wishes to him. Hope he gets better.
Oh yeah, it's always great when Dallas is around the ballpark. You can still hear him a mile away when he's walking through the hallways. They always like coming back though to see you guys, during these alumni gatherings. 1 ball and 2 strikes to Adames with runners on first and second. In the dirt, 2-2. So the runners taking their lead, not being held on. Over to second base, Cesar Hernandez stays down on it, and Morgan gets out of another inning. He does allow a couple base runners in this inning, but only one into scoring position. We'll go to the bottom of the second. Ryan Howard leads it off. Ryan Howard on his recent power surge. Really and truthfully, I'm just taking it as it comes. I'm not trying to put too much thought into anything, just trying to keep it simple. Well, he definitely seems content, although wanting to play, but content with his role on this team. But his last 6 games, he's hitting .500 with 3 homers and 10 RBIs. Guys, since the 3rd of July, .351 with 6 home runs, including this grand slam in Game 1 of the series.
Confidence. Well, right in the baño. I mean, really, it's to me, it's his new little stance. You know, I referred to the stance as like you're sitting on a bar stool. When you're sitting around having a chat, his balance is very good. And the key is when he's getting pitches, he's not missing them.
Chatwood delivers, and he rolls over toward the right side. And Adames gathers it up, throws him out, 6-3 on the putout. And what a way. Well, he was looking for something first pitch there. And here's Cameron Rupp. Rupp's had a good August. He's hitting .310 in the month of August with 3 home runs. 2 for 5 in Game 1 of this series. And overall, .277 with 13 home runs, 40 runs batted in. And a pitch outside, 1 ball and no strikes. Almost the same pitch, this time called a strike. The Lucky McDonald's Phillies home run jackpot contestant is Bill Duncan of Philadelphia. Phillies hit a home run in today's ball game, then Bill will win $100. McDonald's mix and match any 2 for just $2.50 on McDonald's McPick 2 menu. Over to the left side, Arenado bobbles it, and that is not something you see often. That'll be his 7th error of the season.
Didn't he only have 1 when we were in Colorado?
That is correct.
In July? He struggled that series defensively. This one here is just a bad exchange. He had all the time in the world. I should let Mike break that one down. I apologize, Mike. You're the third baseman.
I think he might have been having a laugh with the shortstop as he ran by there while he was doing his little pirouette, and you know, he forgot to grip the ball. Stuff, you know, stuff happens, you know.
Odubel will tell you that. He had the error in the first inning. But, Matt, you're right. Only one error when we were there.
Yeah.
And he committed one when we were there. In fact, he might have had 2 when we were there.
Should have had 3.
Yeah. And Odubel fouls the first pitch back, 0-1.
Remember the throw to third base from Nick Hundley, and he just missed it.
Yeah, and they gave it to Hundley.
Yeah, they gave it to Hundley.
Arenado's already won a couple Gold Gloves over at third base. Odubel hitting .283 with 12 home runs and 40 runs batted in. He's been a little bit better in August, but since the 1st of July hitting .239. I was going to say this is usually the point where he tosses his sunglasses aside.
See, I would be going, I don't know if I can see that well out of these glasses. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you know when you first play golf with the sunglasses on, you're wondering, should I have sunglasses on?
Yeah.
These guys wear these mirror lenses. I don't get it.
Did you guys ever wear anything when you were batting?
Flip down? No, I never wore.
You always with a flip down in the field. Yeah.
The only place I ever did was, and I said it before.
Oh, that's right.
Was in Fenway Park because of there was no batter's eye early in my career there. You're looking at fans.
Now, would I wear them today? Possibly. You know, I mean, we didn't necessarily. Nobody wore them when I played. As Odubel ropes a line drive to left field in his mirror glasses.
He did hit it on the nose. Freddie Galvis coming up. Murph, you got a weather update?
I do indeed, Tom. It's hot. It is hot here at the ballpark. And you know how I know it's hot? Because, well, we're making a little history today at Citizens Bank Park. Take a look at Mike and Mike standing behind me. You notice anything different about the game day employees today?
They're both wearing white shirts.
They don't have sun up there.
No, it's sunny up here. They're wearing shorts for the very first time in Phillies history. They're allowing the game day employees to wear shorts, and I would say Mike and Mike are wearing them well. Absolutely. Because of the extreme temperatures, they decided, Eric Tobin and his staff decided yesterday to send a memo out to the game day employees that they could wear shorts. The only stipulation was they had to be color coordinated. They had to look like business attire. And Mike over here, look what Mike wore into the office because he was trying to push the envelope a little bit. He wore his bathing trunks underneath. But
I wonder where he's going afterward.
Yeah, well, that's the big question. We're going to follow him. But it's hard to believe. No one can remember a time where the game day employees were allowed to wear shorts at any of the ballparks in the Phillies' history. So they're wearing them today. They're staying cool, and they're much appreciated, right? Oh, the females could, but the men could not. So there you go.
Wow.
I always said it was like
and you guys also got the memo apparently because I'm thinking you're wearing shorts in there too.
Not really,
Murph. I always said I liked this job because it was like watching the game in my living room on my couch.
I even got the shower shoes on today.
Yeah, Matt forgot the shop.
I forgot the sneakers, so I had to wear shower shoes.
I really have to start checking my email more. I'm in long pants.
I forgot to tell you, Murph, your email did bounce back when we sent it out there.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you guys are cool.
Yeah.
I'm glad the game day staff is comfortable as well. We're making history at Citizens Bank Park.
Well, it's summertime.
Yeah.
Summertime in the city.
That's right.
A walk to Freddie Galvis. The Phillies have a base runner at first and a base runner at second for Jimmy Paredes. Paredes playing left field today. Peter Borges was hit by that pitch in last night's ball game. They're giving him a day off here. Paredes hitting .198 with 3 home runs and 9 runs batted in with the Phillies. Overall, he has 4 home runs. He has 1 at-bat in the series so far, and he takes low and in, 1 ball, no strikes.
Be nice to get another 3-run home run early in the game.
Pulls that one toward the right side. A base hit it to right center field. Rupp is coming home. The throw goes toward third, and the Phillies take a 1-0 lead. Well, when you're a bench player like Paredes is, it's nice when you get a chance to start to contribute a little bit, and that's exactly what he just did.
Well, it's nice to come through with that big knock up the middle. But it's also nice to see Parra decide to go to third base with this throw, because he has a tremendous arm in right field. I thought it was going to be pretty close at home. Mayhew just out of the reach.
Yeah, just out of the reach. Nice dive. I don't think he dove early enough on that. He should have taken.
Morgan hits a slow chopper out to second. LeMahieu has it. And the Phils will take a 1-0 lead into the third inning. Well, in the Hall of Fame club, it's a nice place to be. On a day like this, you watch the game, go into the air conditioning, come back and watch the game, go back into the air conditioning. Now for the cheap stuff, the fans trivia question. Log on to Phillies.com, go to the fans section for all the information, and please submit your answer on the subject line. All right, guys, the question is, who holds the Phillies single-season record for highest fielding percentage by a second baseman? By a second baseman. It is not Mickey Morandini, but that's a good guess, Matt. Mickey was a good second baseman. Nice catch there, you see? He's got good hands. We'll go to the top of the third. Tyler Chatwood will lead things off. Chatwood is 6 for 41 with 11 strikeouts so far this year. We will share with everybody what we're laughing about in just a second.
Oh, my Lord. Now I know what a catcher feels like taking a foul ball off the head.
Pitch is outside. It's 1-0. The last half inning.
Yeah, we're sitting here having a, watch me. Watch my.
What was that? I got something
no
biting
idea,
my
but
leg.
Smoked me right between the eyes.
I thought there was water that
I thought it was
dripped
a
down.
bat or something.
You have to explain to our fans out there that everything we do is recorded.
Everything we do is recorded. One man
That
down.
was awesome.
I really thought, because I watched it and I thought something dripped on your forehead or something.
No, because we were just talking, and I was like, as I was about to turn my head, this thing, I saw this thing coming. It hit me right here.
Like that?
Yeah, right enough. I mean, seriously, I felt like a catcher taking a foul ball off the mask.
You were bug hunting.
No, it was awesome.
Well, here's Charlie Blackmon with one man down. Blackmon reached on the error by Odubel Herrera back in the first inning, then was thrown out trying to steal. Fastball, and it's 0-1. Yeah, we have this happen from time to time. Ben hit the bar underneath the desk and hits it quite often. In fact, he texted last night saying that his knee was still bothering him. No balls and 2 strikes to Blackmon.
I can't wait till Tuesday.
I was going to say, I can't wait to see what they gather out at Harry the K's on Tuesday when we're there.
You guys are hoping for a little cold front coming through.
Oh, it
Hoping
would be
it's not
nice,
100
wouldn't it?
degrees out there.
That's our perch right out there, right in the vicinity of Harry for Harry the K's.
Wow.
Paredes gets that ball quickly. Blackman still thinking two. The throw to second base, and he is out. Now Blackman thinks that Cesar missed the tag, so he's going to hover there while they review it. Right now it's 7-4 on the putout. The throw arrived in plenty of time. Cesar, I don't think he knew where Blackman was or where he was initially.
So he thinks
I think
that
he's safe.
he put a little fake slide on him, right? Showed him a leg and pulled it away and then touched the base.
Yeah, I don't know if he got him before the foot hit the bag or not. Right? The leg goes up. Does he get him at all? I don't think he does.
And he misses him.
So if they review this, which they are, looks like he's going to be safe. Phillies have won their challenge today. And the Rockies will get their first challenge of the day. And
Lifts his foot up. Lifts his foot up.
Yep, right there. It's up. Tag isn't applied. And he doesn't get him there, as we showed you. And by the time he gets him on the back of his leg, his foot's already on the bag.
Careless tagging.
Well, that's a shame. Because Paredes, give him credit for how much ground he covered to get to that ball.
Oh, excellent play in left field. Yeah, we don't want to forget that. Throw a bullet to second base. Nice piece of hitting, by the way.
Yeah, very nice.
Yeah, the fifth hit for Blackman, who's now hit in 9 consecutive games, hitting over 500 during that 9-game hitting streak. Well, the last review was a minute 33. Watch it again here. Yeah, he never tagged him.
It's a swing and miss.
Well, you know, in the old days, if the ball beat you most of the time, 99% of the time, in fact, if there wasn't replay, this guy'd go back to the dugout screaming that he'd made a good slide and they didn't tag him, but there's nothing he could do about it because the umpire knew the ball beat him so bad. But now they're held to account with these replays. And the sliding runner knew right away that he had avoided a tag. It's just a matter of, couldn't the camera pick it up? Could the umpire didn't pick it up? And from a tag standpoint, well, you don't want to get the ball kicked out of your glove. In the old days, a lot of times, you know, if the ball was waiting on you right there, they'd slide right into your glove and try to kick the ball out of your glove.
Well, he has been
in that case, no, he needs to lay it down there.
Absolutely.
And, you know, make sure, or reach out, you know, a couple feet in front of the bag and put the tag on it.
Well, so both teams have challenged and have won their challenges, so they maintain their challenge.
Now, is that an error?
I believe it is scored still a double, but it is scored a double. 25th double of the year for Blackman. Now LeMahieu fly to center his first time up. Out of play, and it's 0-1.
Now, what do you think makes LeMahieu such a good hitter?
Where do we start? I mean, he's got great hands. You mentioned it yesterday that he doesn't overswing. He uses the big part of the field. Keeps his hands tight inside his body. I mean, he has a flat swing. Strong.
Yeah, there's no, it doesn't even look like he's going to roll over the ball. He lets the ball get deep over the plate. A good eye, and he's not enticed to pull the ball, enticed to hit home runs. Everything he does is good.
And it seems like this is the perfect spot for him. Not Colorado, but batting second in this order seems to be the perfect spot for him, too.
Well, he is a good fastball hitter. But then again, the first game we saw him hit a home run on an off-speed pitch.
Line drive down the right field line, and that is an extra base hit going to the corner. LeMahieu will get to second. Scoring from second is Blackmon. So the missed tag by Cesar Hernandez cost the Phils and Adam Morgan a run here. So it's a 1-1 ball game with one out here in the top of the third.
Yeah, that's two balls just hit right on the nose. One down the left field line, one down the right field line. Both hitters going the opposite way. Here you see it. Actually, Matt, that double down the line there by LeMahieu was kind of a product of the first two foul balls he hit. You know,
Yep.
all three pitches were in a similar place, and all he did was really catch up to the third one. Good two-strike hitting right there.
Well, that's a 6-game hitting streak for LeMahieu. He gets the RBI. It's his 43rd of the year. And he has 24 doubles. And now Arenado, who flied to center his first time up. This time to right center field. Herrera a long run. Altair a long run out toward the scoreboard. Odubel jumps and he makes the catch. And Odubel may have hurt himself. He's holding his left leg.
I think he's fixing his pants.
Okay.
We got away with one there. Arenado just missed that ball. It's two in a row he's just missed.
He may have rolled his left ankle, although it looked like he was limping off his right leg. So 2 outs. Ryan Rayburn is the batter. He walked his first time up. That's low. 1 ball and no strikes. Line drive caught by Cesar at second. And that wraps up the third inning. Rockies do score a run, though. Back-to-back doubles by Blackmon and LeMahieu. And a nice catch by Odubel Herrera. We'll be back with the bottom of the third after this. By Nissan. Shop ChooseNissan.com. By McDonald's. Mix and match any two for just $2.50 on McDonald's McPick 2 menu. And by your local Ford stores. Fanatic is roaming all over the place today. He was just dumping popcorn in the Hall of Fame club down to the lower level. Cesar takes low. Outside 2-0. Cesar struck out looking his first time up. Hits that one sharply, but right at the second baseman LeMahieu. 1 out. And that'll bring Aaron Altair to the plate. Altair struck out his first time up. In fact, Chatwood struck out the first 2 batters that he faced. Boy, he does work quickly, too.
And he loves his fastball. His last outing, almost 78% of the pitches he threw was fastball.
Ball and 2 strikes. This is a good pickup by the Rockies. You know, they traded a guy that was a very good catcher for them in Chris Iannetta to the Angels for him. To the left of the mound. I don't think there's a. Oh, what a play. He got to that one, but now Altair has a chance to go all the way to third. He'll stop at second, though, because Parr did a good job coming in, and he's got a strong arm.
Altair slipped coming out of the box, too. I don't think anybody realized that. Might have been one of those plays where Arenado could have called him off the ball. You know, Arenado gives it, and I got it right now. He might have had a better angle compared to what the pitcher ended up doing.
Well, that error, second one of the game. Rockies made a lot of errors in this series.
That was an error.
Single
and error. I'm sorry, my bad. Single and an error. 5-game hitting streak now for Aaron Altair. Matt, I hope the Fanatic, when he's next to us, never does that. Here's Maikel Franco. A bit high, 1 ball and no strikes. Franco tapped one back to Chatwood his first time up.
You just saw Franco's line on there, 300 on base percentage on the screen there a second ago. It's not on there now, but I would love to see him improve that middle number there. 300 on base percentage. All it takes is a goal of someone at 80, 85 walks, and someone with his power and his intimidation factor should definitely be able to walk 80 times a year.
I think we were talking the other night, not that he's in this category, but we were just talking about Jim Thome the other night. Matt and I were looking at his numbers, 400 on base percentage, right, Matt? Wasn't that what it was?
Over 400.
I mean, that's incredible considering the amount of times he struck out, but he's also walked a lot.
Well, and not to compare him to me by any means, but there are similarities. You get thrown a lot of breaking balls, and they're a little bit afraid of you. Don't want you to beat them, and so there's going to be a lot of times where you got to take what the game gives you, take what the opposition gives you.
Arenado knocks it down. Franco doesn't run all that well. The throw is high, and it's knocked out of the glove of Rayburn. Another error for the Rockies. 3 errors in the first 3 innings. I mean, it's got to go against the ball was in the glove of the first baseman.
Still poor. It's a bad throw.
Right.
E5.
So his second error of the game.
It was a weird play here. Now, just in general, a tough hop. Obviously, knocks it down. You know what? It looked like he had a bad grip on the ball. It almost looked like he had it with all his whole hand, like sort of a change-up grip, and he went ahead and threw it anyway, and came out of his hand bad high. And Franco gets a big piece of the glove, knocks it out.
So now Howard in an RBI situation. 2 errors in the inning, 3 errors overall for the Rockies.
Looking like a little bad news Bears here all of a sudden.
Exactly. Well, the Rockies capitalized. Ball gets away. And the runners will move up.
Right on cue.
Might be able to start playing that Bad News Bears music
This brings up an interesting decision. As hot as Ryan Howard's been against these guys.
Well, the other day, it was Freddie Galvis who was walked intentionally with Ryan Howard up next. Hundley just looked over. Yep, they're going to walk him.
Yeah, Ryan's small. This is like the old days.
It was the 1 year, and I could be wrong with the number, but I think I'm close. The 1 year he was intentionally walked like 37 times or something like that. His MVP year.
I remember him in Washington walking him with nobody on base. Remember how hot he was in Washington at the end of that year?
Yeah, they could not get him out. So an intentional walk. And they'd rather pitch to Cameron Rupp.
It's a good time for that fly ball into the 20th row in right field.
Bases loaded, 2 errors and a wild pitch. Aaron Altair has made an impact on the team since his return from injury. He talks about trying to make his mark in the Phils' suddenly crowded outfield. Watch it on the Phillies clubhouse tomorrow at 6:30 right here on CSN. So Altair's over third. He's the leader of the pack. You see Franco leading off second. Howard's at first. 1 ball and no strikes to Rupp.
.37 times, Tom, in 2006.
I thought that's the number. I thought that was the number.
You potentially walked 16 times in September and October.
That's amazing. To the right side, and it's bobbled by Rayburn coming home, and he is safe at the plate. 2-1 Phillies on top. You know, after the bobble, he's got to go to first base on that, doesn't he?
Oh, you got to know who's running. That's Altair, who can really run. Ball was hit hard, don't get me wrong, but once you got the bobble, actually you got to play at second base too. Look at your play at second base. Ryan Howard was standing right next to him. Check him out here. See, he even stops. I have no idea why he would turn and throw to home with Altair on third base.
All right, well, this is the manager going out. Watch it again. You can watch where everybody is on this ball. He definitely had to play at second base. Gosh.
You pick a bag except for home or third. I mean,
Yeah.
What do you think there's any chance he might be out there scolding his Bad News Bears
Well,
right now?
it was a quick conversation, but he did.
What the heck's going on here today, boys?
Now, Chatwood did show some disgust over at first base. It could have been that, too.
Yeah, big time.
So an RBI for Rupp. Now with the bobble, they wouldn't have turned 2 even though Rupp was running, but they definitely would have gotten the runner at second. Easily would have gotten Rupp at first. Instead, they don't get anybody. There's Chatwood.
It's the reactions. I hate when pitchers do that.
Where did we see it where the pitcher was taken out of the game? It was in San Diego. Clemens was taken out of the game after somebody warmed up.
You know why I dislike it? Because one, you're not, of course, not trying to make errors. It happens. But if a guy throws a curveball and he hangs it and the guy hits it 509 feet like Stanton did earlier in the year, you don't see the position players throwing their arms up and showing up the pitchers.
Right.
Just frustration.
No balls and 2 strikes to Herrera. And a strike 3 called on the inside part of the plate, and Herrera is going to get thrown out of this game if he's not careful. He just got an equipment fine for slamming the bat down. Freddie Galvis says, go back to the dugout. We don't want you lifted from this game. He just kicked the weight in the on-deck circle.
Oh, it even hurts a lot more when you get a bad call, if in fact it was a bad call with the bases loaded and 1 out. You know, that's that borderline high, and this is the 3rd pitch he's called, the 3rd high strike he's called in this game.
Freddie
So
swings
Freddie
at the high
swings at the
fastball.
high fastball.
Checked his swing on this one. They appeal. No swing. Here's the high-low look. Well, it's below the letters, but he is calling that today.
You know, if he stays, Matt, if he stays in his stance and doesn't come up out of his stance, it would be high. The umpire might see it as high, but he kind of stood up, which made the ball lower.
Galvis checks again, 2-1. Steven Matz has a no-hitter through 6 innings against the Padres. The Mets lead San Diego 2-0. Game's at the bottom of the 6th inning. Two and 1 pitch is fouled away. It's 2-2 now to Galvis. Popped him up. Shallow left. Dahl is under it. Ooh. And he mixed. Boy, oh boy. I think I would have used 2 hands on that one, just the way this inning's gone. Phillies leave them loaded. They do get 1 run. They lead it 2-1 as we go to the top of the 4th. This is part of Alumni Weekend, and all kinds of Phils retiring as Philadelphia Phillies, including Placido Polanco, one of the nicest people you'll ever meet in this game. I know we've said that a lot this weekend, but he throws out the ceremonial first pitch. Carlos Ruiz, his former teammate, does the catching, and Polly, always with a smile on his face, is standing by with Greg Murphy.
You know what, Tom, you're absolutely right, and he's one of the nicest guys because he needs to catch a plane, and he is hanging around just to do this interview, so we're going to get that started. It's great to see you, and welcome back to Philadelphia. You retire as a Philly today. What brought that on? Why retire as a Philadelphia Philly?
Well, it was a very easy decision. You know, it's the team that I play the most with. And just the way they treated me, from the clubhouse to the ownership, it's just been great, and it's a first-class organization.
You know, we talked a little bit about just this alumni weekend, and, you know, you played for 3 other teams other than Philadelphia, and you're still, you know, in touch with guys in those organizations. You come back to Philadelphia, you see a handful of your old teammates. How much fun has this weekend been for you?
Super fun. I'm up for it every time they call me, and it was great to see Jim Thome again, and Randy Wolf, Mike Lieberthorpe, Todd Pratt, and all those guys that were great players, but really better teammates.
talk a little bit about some memories. You know, I was back looking at your numbers, and one of the years that jumps out, obviously, is 2011. You were an All-Star that year. The team was a terrific team, went on 102 games. When you think back to your time in Philadelphia, does that stand out as some of the most special times?
Oh, yes, without a doubt. I mean, just being on that team, we're surrounded by superstars, and watch Holiday pitch a perfect game, no-hitter in the playoff, and it's just amazing.
You know, when I think back to, you know, your early part, the first time you were in Philadelphia as a second baseman, the second time as a third baseman, your ability to hit a career 300 hitter, just about right below 300, your versatility, that was the kind of baseball player that you really strive to be, a guy that could do just about everything on the field, true?
Yes, whatever it takes, you know, to win games, you know, doing the little things, getting the runner over, bunting, getting on base, and playing defense. I think you play good defense, you can win a lot of games.
Well, nowadays you're hanging out in Miami, not a bad place to live, and I know you still go out to Marlins games, and we might get a chance to see you in September, right?
I'll be there for sure in September, yes.
Well, Placido, we appreciate it. I know you got to get out of here, and I appreciate your time. It's good to see you.
Thank you for having me.
Guys, we'll send it back to you.
All right, Murph. If Murph ever did a talk show, that would be the best backdrop he could have, all those different souvenirs that are back there. Paulie was one of the better guys, boy, I'll tell you, and so versatile. I remember when the Phillies acquired him from the Cardinals, as Hundley takes up and in. When they acquired him from the Cardinals, you know, Tony La Russa did not want to let him up.
Who would want to let him go?
Yeah.
The greatest two-strike hitters ever to play the game, especially in this day and age, you know, where strikeouts aren't thought of in the same vein that they once were. Placido could make contact. Hitting that two-hole, man, was he a good two-hole hitter.
And you saw in 2011 he won the Gold Glove. I mean, just his ability at two different positions to play them well.
That's right. Isn't that a record? Is he the only player to ever win it at two positions?
You know, that's a good question. I go back.
I thought
and look
you
at
had
that.
all the answers.
Sometimes
The
I
guy
do.
next to you does.
Sometimes I don't.
Not me.
No.
Guy to your left. Big unit, Carl, down there.
Another toss over to first.
I can't imagine that. I don't think Pete Rose would have had a Gold Glove.
Darren Erstad.
A-Rod?
Darren Erstad won
Center field and first base.
3. Yep, that ball was off Adam Morgan. Oh, man. It'll be an infield hit, and here comes Sean Ficasny. I think that may have hit his throwing hand. Wow. That ball was scorched. It was out over the plate, so Hundley was able to rip it right back at Adam. Hit his arm.
Yeah, look, his left forearm.
It's loud. Oh, right on the hand.
Yeah, right off the forearm.
Almost hit bicep.
Yeah. Yeah, you think it was that high, Matt? So right there
Forearm.
on the forearm. And he will exit. Oh boy,
It's too bad.
Severino Gonzalez starts to throw in the bullpen, so the Phils lose another starting pitcher, this time in the 4th inning, and let's hope that's not serious. Hundley did hit it hard, and the Rockies now with runners on first and second, and they'll get an x-ray of that arm of Adam Morgan, and Severino Gonzalez will be the new pitcher for the Phils. He'll get all the time he needs. We'll be back after this. Only rely on long-lasting power of Duracell batteries delivered right to your desktop the same day when you order by 11:30. By who? Who but WB Mason. Phillies lead it by 1. Severino Gonzalez on the mounds, warming up in relief of Adam Morgan. Adam just took a line drive off his pitching forearm off the bat of Nick Hundley. So he leaves after 3+ innings, and let's hope he's okay. I mean, Adam Morgan's a tough guy. I mean, he is. And it looked like he was trying to stay in the ball game, but they had to be cautious with that. So Severino Gonzalez will face Gerardo Parra, who singled his first time up. Parra is 6 for 28 since his return from the disabled list. So here we go. Runners on first and second. Severino. See if he can get a double play ball here. And a balk called on Severino Gonzalez, so we cannot get a traditional double play here. Severino started and then stopped. Cesar Hernandez asking Gary Cederstrom, the second base umpire, what it was. Yep, right there. No, he did. Center of attention. It's hard to hide it.
Such a little thing, but such a big play.
Fouled away. 1 ball, 1 strike. Severino, the last time he was the long man for the Phils when the Phillies were in Los Angeles, he pitched well. And that's what you need here. You need him to give him maybe 3 more innings, just like he did the other day. One ball and 2 strikes. Popped him up. Franco into foul territory. And he makes the catch.
Now you have decision time. Do you put the number 8 hitter on first base and go after the pitcher?
The ball come down in fair territory?
No. Just missed coming down in fair territory. Matt, I would say go after the 8 hitter. What do you think?
I say walk him.
With 1 out?
I would.
The only thing you got to worry about there is if all things go well would be Blackmon.
I'd go after him.
Yeah, that would be my concern, though, is that Blackmon's on the back end of that. If you don't somehow get a double play ball. Adames did ground out his last time up, and he takes outside. 1 ball, no strikes. Now, if he grounds out here, a run's going to wind up scoring. If he grounds out toward the middle.
Yeah, first or third, he's probably going to freeze while Ryan Howard's backing up. So contact, you're going right side of the infield and up the middle.
Got to be careful of that pitch. He nearly left that one out over the plate a little too much.
Well, there's somebody didn't think they'd get a ball today.
They were just content they were sitting in the suite.
Little slider inside. They're good at times when you try to be careful with guys and you kind of pitch around them. It's usually when you make mistakes.
Back to the screen, 1-2.
That's supposed to be a fastball inside. Take a huge swing at that.
Just going to say That's a waste. Swing that hard. Swing half that hard. And you can still hit a home run, but I mean, you just got to pitch to hit, and you try to hit it, you know, over the light tower there, and you end up wasting the pitch to hit.
Back over the mound, and that's going to get a run home. Hernandez will flip to first, and it's not in time. Just didn't have enough on it. It'll be an RBI infield single, and it's a 2-2 ball game. Well, you talk about this being a game of inches.
Yeah.
That play alone had 2 different moments where it was a game of inches.
Been kind of a crazy game. A lot of weird balls, strange plays. I mean, he did everything he could do. Guy's left-handed, just runs good. Made contact.
Well, so the balk leads to the run. There's a number of other reasons why the run scored, but
now you have to be a heads up with the safety squeeze. Push bunt to first base. Although Chatwood handles the bat pretty good.
Six for 42 on the year. Phillies had the idea that they might do a squeeze or a safety squeeze. The pitch out might need to be a little farther out next time.
And I think Cameron popped out a little early.
Runner goes from first. Pitch is bunted at, missed. The throw to second base. They've got him in a rundown. Oh, he is out. He was getting to be out of the baseline too. Caught stealing. 2-6 of the putout. Hundley still at third.
I mean, that play right there sums up how the game's going so far.
Exactly.
Seriously.
I was just going to say, didn't he quick pitch a little bit there? I was watching the third base coach talk to the third base runner, and the ball was on the way to the plate. The third base coach just got done talking to the third base runner.
Like it was supposed to be a hit and run, or was it a squeeze / hit and run bunt, which would be a first?
How about how far Adames came into the infield grass?
Must have been an entertaining game.
It's a scorer's nightmare here.
Well, if you can get out of this inning with 1 run,
You
you
just
got
did.
to be extremely, extremely happy with second and third. And they score 1 run, then you have first and third with your pitcher hitting, and your best hitter this series coming on deck.
And it remains tied at 2 as we go to the bottom of the 4th inning here in Philadelphia. brought to you by Toyota. Visit buyatoyota.com to find your RAV4 today. Toyota, let's go places. Let's go Phils. Well, we've eaten so much ice cream this weekend that we had to show Frank because his hands are bothering him. He's scooped out so much.
Told me today he was going to have Tommy John surgery.
Yeah.
Frank made a deal earlier today. We saw that a pancake, a full pancake with 3 dips of vanilla on the pancake.
Really?
Yeah, with chocolate syrup over it.
Please tell me that's coming right here.
I think that's Murph's hand, actually.
Well, it's somebody that knows a cameraman, or it is a cameraman.
Bottom of the 4th inning, tied at 2. So Frank was going outside his normal scope today.
A waffle.
Oh, it was a waffle or pancake?
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Waffle.
A waffle.
Not a waffle cone, but one of the
No,
waffles.
a waffle.
plate.
Did you have it, Matt?
No, I did not.
Sounds pretty good.
Is he still in there?
Yeah. I think he's winding down right now as we speak.
Hey, you know, a lot of things go good on a waffle.
Chatwood begins the 4th inning. Jimmy Paredes, the batter, RBI single. By the way, Daniel Descalso has taken over at first base for Ryan Rayburn. Kind of an odd substitution at this point.
The only thing I could think of is Rayburn took one off the thumb, the ball that Cameron Rupp hit to him at first base.
Maybe. Two balls and 1 strike to Paredes, who has an RBI single today for the Phils.
Chatwood's fastball, it's not overpowering, but it goes left and right.
Almost seems like he has trouble sometimes if he opens up too much, like a lot of pitchers, but because he's such a violent delivery.
Right. Like the 2-2 pitch was supposed to be a fastball inside, and he missed low and away. There's another fastball down.
Out to left center field. That's well hit. Blackman going back. It is gone. Home run, Jimmy Paredes, who has 2 RBIs in 2 at-bats. And the Phillies retake the lead. I tell you, when you don't play every day and you get a chance, that's got to be a good feeling. And you're batting 8th.
And your teammates are extremely happy for you. Like big time.
Yeah, he's popular in the clubhouse. Pete talks about that all the time. Bill Duncan of Philadelphia thinks he's pretty popular too because he's won $100 thanks to Jimmy Paredes in the McDonald's home run jackpot.
That's inside, stay inside the ball with the hands. Middle in fastball in the danger zone.
Severino Gonzalez grounds out, 1 out.
Here it is again. 3-2 count, I believe. Boom.
That's a nice
pitch and a 3-2 fastball right there. Usually gets something.
It's a nice swing.
Bad for the pitcher, good for the hitter.
Well, this has been a nice series for the Phillies power-wise too. You know, we've talked about how much they've struggled offensively here at home. They put together some good at-bats. Cesar takes low and in, 1-0.
I love when he does that.
Fakes the bunt.
Well, yeah, just not even. There's not even a percentage of a chance that he's going to lay a bunt down there. He's just taking a pitch.
I love the way he takes a pitch. He doesn't even flinch.
No.
I mean, in terms of hitting, and we know hitting, I believe that the position you take pitches in is vital as well. You're not flinching your hands forward.
Like, that's the difference of that take right there compared to the other three. He took it like he was going to hit it. He still shadowed it the whole way in, got his timing down. We mentioned that earlier in the year about just there's a purpose in takes as well.
Well, Cesar getting on brings us to our cold hard fact, brought to you by Clean Crisp Coors Light. Cesar's reached base safely in each of his last 21 games and is tied for the second longest on-base streak by a Philly this year, Odubel and Peter Bourjos. The Phillies now have 3 players with 20-game on-base streaks in a single season for the first time since 2008. Forgotten about Peter Bourjos.
Let me guess, 2008, Chase, Jimmy, and Ryan.
I would think you're right about that. Wanted to say Jason Worth maybe, but he didn't really start playing every day till the second half of the year. Runner goes. Hundley's throw to second base, not in time, and Cesar has a stolen base, his 13th of the year.
Great jump. The only chance he had to be thrown out was if you tagged him in the foot right there. You know, I stand corrected in 08.
Yep.
Chase Utley.
Yep.
Pat the Bat.
Yep.
Ryan Howard.
Yep.
Shane Victorino.
Yeah, I forgot all about Victorino. Poor Shane. We forgot about him. Toyota Major League Scoreboard, an update on the no-hitter by Steven Matz. It's now through 7 innings. Mets lead the Padres 2-0. Keep you up to date on that one. Bit high, 2-2. Matt, did Victorino text you and tell you it was him?
No.
I think he might be still in Alaska.
It's hard to say where he is. On a wave or.
He was in Alaska the last time I heard.
Was he?
Yeah. Upstairs again, 3-2.
What does he do in Alaska?
Who knows?
I think he's just visiting.
Actually, I got that from John DeSangro.
Our associate producer.
Correct.
Provider of our Jeep Stump the Fans trivia question. Voltaire strikes out. So 2 outs. Michael Franco is the batter.
Let's get back to that conversation we had last time with Michael hitting, talking about walks.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that the more time he spends in the big leagues, he understands it more and will walk more?
I hope. I think the base on balls, I've said many times, is the most underrated element of good hitting. Really great hitters do get, I mean, they're not free swingers. They do understand the importance of the walk, importance of taking what the game gives you, setting the people behind you up, not trying to do it all yourself. Adding pitches to the pitcher's count. when you're taking walks, you're identifying the ball. You're not jumping out early, you know, waving mindlessly at pitches out of the strike zone. Walks lead the run scored.
Yeah, and I just wonder at times when you have a young player with him with tremendous talent, that he tries to put that whole load of the team on his shoulders to carry them, which you've seen many, many times with young players. But I agree with you. I think once he figures it out, there you go, he gets a walk. Trust the guys hitting behind him that they can pick the team up as well. I think that's very important. Trusting your teammates is the most important thing.
See Foster going out to talk to his pitcher after that walk. It's the second walk of the inning.
Well, I've often said that, you know, baseball's a team game, of course, and the most important thing is winning the game today. But a big part of each individual's attitude about winning the game as a team is keeping your energy up for where you stand. You know what I mean? You have to want to be amongst the best, and it's a big statistical game, and all those things are important. I get a walk, I get a run scored, I get an RBI, you know, and it helps us win the game for sure. But so I added something today to my overall position in the game statistically.
Well, now let's see if you can trust Ryan Howard with runners on first and second. 2 men down. Howard lifts it to left center field. It's not deep. Blackmon is under it. And he puts it away. Phillies do get a run on the home run by Jimmy Paredes. 2 RBIs today for Paredes. So as we go to the 5th inning, the Phils on top once again. They lead it 3-2 with Blackmon due to lead it off when we get back. The top half of the 5th inning here at Citizens Bank Park. A home run by Jimmy Paredes has given them the lead. They have just 3 hits, and 2 are by Paredes. That cat you see out on the mound is Severino Gonzalez. He is pitching right now because of an injury to Adam Morgan, who took a line drive off his forearm. Get you an update on Adam as soon as we have one. So Gonzalez will face Charlie Blackmon here. And 2.
When does it start hurting?
I think the gentleman just tried to
5 seconds after.
Yeah, he tried to catch a foul ball with one hand, and it hit him pretty hard, square.
After the adrenaline wears off.
Yeah. I think he's hiding it right now, but I think he's feeling it. 1 ball and 2 strikes to Blackmon, who has reached on an error. He's also doubled. He'll be followed by DJ LeMahieu. Rockies, Phillies will be done with the Rockies after this ball game, and then welcome in the Dodgers on Tuesday night. Outside, 3-2. On the Toyota Major League scoreboard, we'll give you an update on what happened in New York. Alexi Ramirez breaks up the no-hitter of Steven Matz in the top of the 8th inning. Mets have 1 no-hitter in team history. And it was thrown by Johan Santana. And if replay was in place, they would still have no no-hitters because there was a ball down the left field line that today's home plate umpire, Adrian Johnson, called a fair ball. Or excuse me, called a foul ball that would have been ruled fair if there was replay.
Is that against the
Who hit that ball?
Cardinals?
Against the Cardinals. That's a good question. I don't remember who hit that ball.
Didn't he throw like 128 pitches that day?
Yeah.
It was never the same afterwards.
Never the same afterwards. Which, who knows if there's a correlation or not. A little false hustle by Eric Young in the first base coach's box.
EY. One of the best, man. He's one of the best teammates I've ever had. Funny.
And Matt, if you needed somebody to return a kick or a punt, he would be able to do it too.
It's because he's shaped like a football.
No, he was a heck of a football player. Santana threw 134 pitches the day he threw the no-hitter.
Yeah, 4 were intentional walks.
Report from the production cavity was that Carlos Beltran was the one who hit the ball. 3 balls and 2 strikes to Blackmon.
EY chatting it up with the fans over there.
That one's pulled deep down the right field line. If it's fair, it's gone. It is a fair ball home run. 4th one of the series for Blackmon, and this ball game is tied up at 3. That's his 19th home run. Man, the ball just jumps off his bat.
You know, if you're going to break down a swing and say, look, watch this young fella hit, he never overswings. The 3 home runs he hit the other night, he didn't overswing. That one there was straight to the barrel. Watch the barrel, right straight down.
Boom, just drop it, stay tall. That was a good at bat. Fouled off 4 or 5 pitches. Danger zone.
Oh, that's the oh no zone.
Well, now LeMahieu. That was an 11 pitch at bat for Charlie Blackmon. It results in the home run. The Toyota Major League scoreboard, Arizona has a lot of ground to make up. Mookie Betts with 3 home runs, 8 RBIs, 4 runs scored. It's his second 3 home run game of the year. That ball's hit well, but Altair is there. Toward the end of the bat a bit.
That was against Zach Greinke, wasn't it? Was the pitcher?
I believe Greinke was scheduled to start today, yes.
Betts was, what, I think 2 for 2 at the first 2 innings with 2 home runs.
His last 3 home run game was on May 31st against Baltimore. He's the first player in Red Sox history to homer in both his first and second innings in 3 different games this season.
Wow.
Bet you they're happy they didn't trade him a couple years ago. Greinke lasted an inning and 2/3, 10 hits, 9 runs, all earned. They didn't walk anybody.
Yeah, didn't have time to, because it was like a track out there. That's about as good as the outing he had when he opening day, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's close.
Yeah.
2-1. Opening day, he allowed 7 earned runs and 3 home runs. And Arenado strikes out. He's 0 for 3 today, 0 for 12 in the series. Time now for our Citizens Bank Minor League Report. Get you updated on what's going on. Lehigh Valley lost to Indianapolis 4-2 in 13 yesterday. Nick Pivetta, though, not bad. 5 strikeouts in his first AAA outing. Scott Kingery continues to hit for the Reading Titans. 2 hits, 2 RBIs. And Lakewood defeated Kannapolis. Cornelius Randolph 3 for 3, a double, an RBI, and 2 runs scored. Today, Lehigh Valley leads Indianapolis 1-0. That game's in the 8th inning. J.P. Crawford continues to sit. He has a rib injury. 5 straight games now for him. There's a line to right field. Altair wraps up the inning with his second play as Descalso is retired on his first at-bat of the day. But a home run by Charlie Blackmon ties this ball game up. We'll head to the bottom of the 5th. It's 3-3. The MLB.com at-bat app. Stay up to the moment at any moment with live game video highlights, StatCast, news, and more. Download MLB.com at-bat, the #1 app for live baseball on your smartphone or tablets. Three ball game, bottom of the 5th inning. And Cameron Rupp will lead it off for the Phillies against Tyler Chatwood. It'll be Rupp, Herrera, and Freddie Galvis. Chatwood already at 80 pitches through 4 innings of work. So he's not long for this game. Pitching staff, the coaching staff for Colorado had hoped that Chatwood would give them a long outing today because their starters have gone 5 innings or less in each of the last 4 games. Up and away, 2-0.
Should be a pretty good pitch to hit right here. Green light, Schmitty?
No.
Hey, ball 4.
For only the reason is he's leading off the inning. 2 outs? Absolutely.
What about later in the game? 8th inning tie game.
Yeah.
Here's Odubel, who says something to Adrian Johnson as he steps up. Don't forget, he was upset with Adrian his last time up. I think he may have apologized.
Probably. Big smile on his face like usual.
That one's hit sharply into right center field, a base hit. Rupp is around second, and he is heading on to third. First and third with nobody out.
There we go. A little rally time.
Yep.
First ball hitting. Keep it on the ground, hard, up the middle.
You see this replay from the side, and let's watch the stride. Leg goes up. Last couple of days, he's had no stride. That's the stride we like to see. The reason why is the longer his stride is, the better he'd be able to stay back on that backside. Where yesterday, and a couple of games when he's been striding, it's such a short stride that he stands straight up. He comes out of the crouch. That's the swing right there where you ride that back leg as long as you can and think about landing soft on your front foot.
It's nice to see a little step in the right direction then for Odubel. Freddie Galvis fouls the first pitch. Infield set up to turn 2. And it's 0-2 to Galvis.
See, I like what he's trying to do. He's trying to tomahawk the ball. You know, if he looks for the ball up and trying to tomahawk it, but you still can't just swing at every pitch, right? You know, 93, 94 shoulder high is hard to put in play. Got to tighten that strike zone up, especially with men on base.
I think that's a good way of putting it, is tightening the strike zone up. You know, it's
the hitting zone. Tightening the hitting zone up, your hitting zone.
And a line drive, base hit into center field, and the Phillies will retake the lead. Herrera stops at second. I don't know if he got the best jump off first, but the Phils score Cameron Rupp on the single by Galvis. It's 4-3, Philadelphia on top.
Well, I'm not sure if you got the best jump at first base because, one, you have to freeze on the line drive. I think he was trying to be a little sneaky, breaking it down at second base and then maybe kick it in and see if Blackmon would bite.
Just loop it in a second.
Yeah, but, I mean, this is a good swing. This is what you're talking about, tightening it in, tighten that strike zone. Nice swing. See how he freezes at first base? But again, he came around second base. He looked at Juan Samuel, said, you know, Juan kind of gave him the head shake, like, yeah, good choice. Well, trainer's out.
Yep. So Walt Weiss is out with Steve Foster, the pitching coach and the athletic trainer.
Well, let's not forget, it's probably like 105 degrees, 110 degree.
Yeah, it was over 100 at the start of the game.
They got those dark jerseys on.
Jordan Lyles has been warming up in the bullpen the last little bit. Feels like 107 on the field today.
How about the other day when they had the little the thermometer on the top of the dugout? 121 on top of the dugout.
Wow. Glad the game's not played there.
Oh, that'd be fun. You imagine all the base hits you'd get off that? That heart bounces. I apologize. 1,
20?
22.
Yeah. Well, he stays in at 89 pitches. Jimmy Paredes the batter. It's 4-3. Phillies on top. Still nobody out here in the bottom of the 5th inning. Boy, he got a good pitch to hit. This is what he did in the 4th inning.
3-2 pitch. Oh no, zone. Nice swing through that baseball.
You know, I'll tell you, it's amazing that he's leaving him in here. He must know something we don't know, because it goes to 90 pitches. It's 120, 107 anyway on the field. The hitter hitting just homered off of him. He's got 2 knocks, men on first and second. For me, all things point to a fresh arm. Now he's 0-2.
Yeah. And a liner out toward the right center field. Coming on is Parra. He can't get it. Herrera was going anyway, so he'll score. To third is Galvis. To second is Paredes. He's got a single, a double, and a home run. And the Phils have a 5-3 lead.
Well, we're 1 hit away from the cycle. Jimmy Paredes.
Well, we were also say inch away from being doubled up at second base as well.
Yeah, because the Duble's already at third.
And you called this game, it's a game of inches. Well, nice job. Nice, you hear the phrase, nice piece of hitting. It's because he stayed on that baseball. See, a Duble sitting there, he thinks he's going to get down. He just takes off. Then he kind of pauses and steps going around third. Hate to tell you, but when that stutter step around third, it wouldn't have mattered because you were done at second base if you made the play.
So Walt Weiss is out. That's going to be it for Chatwood. Rockies will go to the bullpen. Taylor Featherston has been introduced as a pinch hitter. Lyles is coming out. He'll be the new pitcher for the Rockies. The Phillies with a 2-run lead and nobody out. The St. Louis Cardinals, all fans coming to the ballpark will receive that great keepsake. It's a replica of the Harry Kalas statue at Citizens Bank Park. It's free to all fans. Compliments of Toyota. Get your tickets now by going to Phillies.com. Folks, we've seen that statue, as you saw right there. We were taking some shots of it earlier today. We have a bunch of them in the office. It is a beautiful, beautiful giveaway. It really is. And the idea was great. The way they put it together is great. And it's something that you're going to want to keep. I was amazed how heavy it was when we opened up the box. All right, so Lyles is the new pitcher for the Rockies, and Taylor Featherston takes over. Taylor Featherston bats as Chatwood. Looks like he's having a staring competition with Matt Stairs. Ball was smoked foul past Freddie Galvis, and it's 0-1. Lyles 3-3 with a 5.71 ERA. Infield in. 0-2. Well, got a couple fastballs. 1 for 10 as a pinch hitter. Swing and a miss. So first out of the inning is recorded on that strikeout. And up to the top of the order for Cesar Hernandez. Cesar is 0 for 2. He walked his last time up. Chatwood walked 5 in this outing. Infield is in again. Back toward the middle, off the glove of Lyles, spins toward shortstop. A run will score. It's an infield hit. 6-3 Phillies. It's nice when the ball bounces your way.
Yeah, right. That ball would have got up the middle, though. I think if Lyles hadn't got a piece of it. Boom. A nice little play by the shortstop. A little pirouette in the opposite direction. Ball in the middle of the field. Good things happen.
Great jump by Freddie at third base. Going on contact. Watching that ball all the way through. Once it gets to the hitter zone, that's when you focus your eyes to the barrel of the bat. Noticing that ball was sitting on the ground. Never even hesitated.
Well, now Altair with the runner at first, the runner at third. Phillies up 6-3. And Altair takes low.
There's that magic number of 6 again in August.
Yeah, the Phillies have been one of the hotter teams offensively. It's part of the reason why they have 7 wins in August, which is second most wins, tied for second most wins in the National League. The Cubs with 10. But they're averaging over 6 runs per game. Actually, just under 6 now. Ball's hit toward third. Backhanded by Arenado, coming home. That's a heck of a play. And Paredes is retired.
Yeah, that's a good play. That's a play that doesn't happen unless you know, unless you think about it beforehand, unless you're thinking ahead in the game. If it's hit to my right, got an easy play at home plate. I think Paredes can do there is try to run toward the catcher's glove, maybe have the ball hit him. That's just good upper level third base play right there.
So 2 outs. Hernandez warming up in the bullpen. And Maikel Franco, the 8th man to bat in this inning. That's a pitcher's pitch right there. Pop up on the left side of the infield. Adames, the shortstop, is under it. And the inning is over. The Phillies, though, score 3 runs in the inning. They leave a couple. We'll move to the 6th inning. 6-3 Phillies on top of the Rockies. Philadelphia in 2003 and realized Philadelphia was a perfect fit. 101 home runs and countless moments later, Jim Thome and his family became permanent members of the Phillies family. 13 years later, Jim becomes a permanent member of Phillies history. His contagious smile and gentleman-like personality has won over so many in the game of baseball. The big man's return was a special one. He's the newest member of the Wall of Fame. And it's brought to you by Independence Blue Cross. Live fearless. Another member of the alums, Randy Wolf, who retired as a Philly officially yesterday, takes over the hot dog shooting business from Jim Thome. Matt Wolf, our camera operator, is along for the ride once again. He had a little problem with it over the first base side. A couple of the hot dogs landed right on top of the dugout.
Tell you what, this young man's loading those hot dogs rapid fire.
That's an art. It's an art. Got to get as many fans as you can happy, Mike.
Scott Air has the record for most hot dogs shot.
Oh, really?
I think so.
They keep tabs of that?
You know Scott would.
Swing and a miss by Dahl as Hernandez takes over. I wonder where Scott is. It must be in his
RV somewhere traveling around.
RV. His kids must have a youth baseball tournament to be played. 0-1 to Dahl. 0-2. Actually, yesterday I was talking to Jim Thome. It was me, Jim Thome, and Jim Salisbury. And Jim's coaching his son Landon's travel team. Landon's 8. And the travel team is for 8, 9, and I guess there's some 10-year-olds. There might even be 1 or 2 7-year-olds. And he said it is the most gratifying and satisfying thing he's done in a long time. He said they don't really care what they do at the plate. They just want to win the game. I said, well, that'll change eventually. Out of play. It remains 1-2. One ball and 2 strikes to Dahl. Dahl is 1 for 2. Outside 2-2. Jay McLaughlin, the in-house public address announcer, just said that Adam Morgan has a contusion to his arm. So we would assume that nothing is broken, which is a good thing.
Very good.
That's a bruise, correct?
A bruise. A black and blue, as they say. To the right side, Cesar is there, has to hurry and gets it there in time.
You know what? A little stutter step there by the base runner right at the end might have made the difference. I don't know. He looked like he got his feet tangled right before he got to the bag.
Why? It was either going to be stutter step with your stride or have a serious collision with the big man at first base. See, Ryan's right in the path. The only thing he could have done
Run
was
up
hit
his
here
back.
and then right up here and then over.
And you know what? I bet if he dives, he might have been safe.
Yeah.
Of course, he'd have then he'd have went straight up the slide, straight up Ryan.
What a way, and that brings Hundley to the plate. Back toward the middle, off Hernandez again. A pitcher gets battered.
Hundley's killing our pitchers.
Jeez, he's the one who knocked Adam Morgan out of the game, and now he hits one off the leg of David Hernandez. Well, it looks like David's okay. Cameron Rupp last time called for Phillies athletic trainer to come out. This time they do not. He'll walk it off. It looked like it hit his knee, didn't it? Or just below it? Here's Gerardo Parra. He singled. His first time up. He's also popped out. .96 from David Hernandez.
He has got the smoothest 96 I've ever seen.
Center field. That's pretty well hit. Odubel going back toward the fence, and he jumps and makes the catch. Back to first base goes Hundley. And there are 2 outs. Perfect technique by Odubel, just getting to the spot.
It was, and you know, with our view we have up here was tremendous, because when you're taught not to run with the ball, you run to the spot where the ball's coming down, and that's what he did. He turned, he went, he found the fence. He knew how close he was. You know, if he starts coasting earlier, he has no chance. But he got back to the wall, timed it perfectly. I'm not sure if it would have been a home run or not, but
yeah, probably would have hit the fence.
But still, he did a nice job of getting back there.
First pitch to Adames, and it is a strike, 0-1.
Nice scoop. That was an interesting check swing.
Well, he's hearing it from the dugout again. They're still mad at him from yesterday.
Towels are being thrown.
The way it's set up here, I think they'd like Hernandez to get a couple innings under his belt. There's a good breaking ball. I think that's been his trouble pitch.
I would agree. I concur.
Just try to get on top of that breaking ball and making sure that it's down and not up. And that hits Adames, and he'll go to first. And that'll put runners on first and second. Lyles is looking into the dugout to see if he's going to bat or not. And they're going to bring him back, and Carlos Gonzalez will pinch hit. All fans 14 and under coming to Sunday's game against the Cardinals will receive the back to school set. It's a 10-piece set, includes 2 folders, spiral notebook, spiral memo pad, an eraser, a pencil pouch, and 4 pencils featuring the Phillies and Fanatic logos and photos, compliments of ShopRite. Again, it's free to all fans 14 and under. Tickets can be purchased anytime by going to Phillies.com. Well, so Gonzalez will represent the tying run here in the 6th inning. As we mentioned, not playing today, just as a precaution because of that sore ankle. Phillies stay with Hernandez here. Nobody is warming up in the bullpen. Jake McGee is warming up for the Rockies. So he's 2 for 2 as a pinch hitter. Phillies' only lefty in the bullpen is Elvis Araujo. If you're thinking about a matchup of lefty on lefty. At a pitch low, it's 1-0. Araujo threw 16 pitches on Friday night. Hernandez threw 26 on Friday night. See the career numbers for Gonzalez against the Phils. Two balls and no strikes. 2 balls and 2 strikes. All right, so he's thrown a couple good breaking pitches.
Yeah,
here.
he's going to off-speed stuff. Behind in the count 2-0 and 2 breaking balls.
Blackmon is on deck. And now the 2-2 pitch. Swing and a miss. He got him. He spun him right on out of the batter's box. And the Rockies lead 2 here in the 6th inning. Well, a little heavy lifting by David Hernandez. He has to get Carlos Gonzalez. He throws in 3 straight breaking pitches. And he does indeed get him. We'll head to the bottom of the 6th with the Phils still on top, 6-3. Your Delaware Valley Honda dealers. Hurry to your local Del Val Honda dealer. Visit DelValHondaDealers.com. Buy the Pennsylvania Lottery's new instant game, Wonder Bucks. Players must be 18 or older. Please play responsibly. And buy WB Basic. You can't go wrong when you buy right. Bottom of the 6th inning, Phillies lead it by 6-3. Jake McGee will take over on the mound for the Rockies. Ryan Howard is due to lead things off. David Hernandez was able to throw a couple good breaking pitches to get Carlos Gonzalez. So Walt Weiss rolled the dice, figured, all right, that was a chance to maybe get a 3-run home run with the best bat he had off the bench. So McGee, 4.84 earned run average over from the Tampa Bay Rays organization. And he'll face Howard, Cameron Rupp, and Odubel Herrera. As Ryan Howard comes to the plate, let's check in with Greg Murphy, who's with a special guest. Murph.
All right, thank you very much. Yeah, here with Todd Pratt. It is good to see you. You look like maybe you could still play a little bit. The man they called Tank, you still look like the Tank.
Thanks, Murph. I'm let these young guys play now. I love watching them, and it'd be nice to be out there. But I think coaching is what I need to be doing right now.
Yeah, that is what you're doing. We'll talk about that in just a minute. But let me ask you about this alumni weekend. I know you were down in Atlanta, part of their alumni weekend as well. You come back to Philadelphia, a team you played for 8 seasons, and I saw you sitting in there with Tommy Green and Mitch Williams and Darren Dalton, just exchanging stories. That's what this weekend's all about, isn't it?
Oh, most definitely. That '93 team. I was my first full year, so I really call it my rookie year. Just the experiences and the leadership from Darren and John Krug, David Hollins, and that's what I think I really attribute that to my lifespan in the major leagues, just learning the right way the first day.
And that's so important. It's something that gets talked about nowadays with these players, having those guys around you that kind of teach you what it's like to be a big leaguer. Later in your career, you were one of those guys for a lot of young players.
Oh, most definitely. It's just the grind of every day out here, 162 games, and being able to bring it all and fight for your team and bleed for them, and that's what I got taught really early, and I think that was, like I said, the main thing that made me last throughout my career.
I joked with you. I said I was going to have you tell us all the stories that you guys are telling over there. I know we cannot do that, but is there something that sticks out when you see those guys? And is there a moment that sticks out immediately for you?
Just be honest with you, the fear of the other ball clubs when we come into their towns and just beating them up, and knowing that teams when we came in were like, wow, the Phillies are coming in and it's going to be a tough weekend.
I know you're still very close to the game of baseball, both in the big leagues with guys that you still know, but also your involvement in the game stretches into the academic level, does it not?
Most definitely. I've been an AD for the last year at a small school right outside of Atlanta, Georgia, West Georgia Technical College, and we have a baseball program, and this will be our 6th year of me running it, and it's just great to give back to these young players and hopefully teach them how to get there.
Is that something you always thought about getting involved in when you got out of the game? We hear so much about catchers and the way they see the game and wanting to be coaches. Is that something you always thought about?
Oh, yeah, most definitely. I wish I would have jumped into the pro scene right after I was done playing, but I needed a few year break with my kids, and 22 years playing. Kind of needed a break. If I look back on it, I wish I would have jumped right back into pro ball, and hopefully there'll be a day that way I can get back in it.
That would not surprise me at all. Well, Todd, we appreciate your time. Go back and enjoy those guys. I know you only have about 24 hours left with them, so
thank you so much.
Thank you. Guys, back upstairs.
All right, Murph, we appreciate that. Always good to see Todd Pratt, who did have 2 stints with the Phils. And Murph's right, they brought him back at one point to sort of be a mentor in that clubhouse. 2-2 to Cameron Rupp, with Ryan Howard, who singled to start the inning over at first base. Cameron does have an RBI today. It was on a fielder's choice in his second at bat. Now 3-2.
By the way, it's nice to see Ryan Howard continue swinging the bat well, getting a base hit off of a very tough left-hander.
He's on the doorstep of 200, which may not seem like a big deal, but he was at 152 just a month ago, and he had a lot of at bats too. Swing and a miss. Rupp strikes out, so 1 out.
Imagine you might feel a little lethargic after catching 6 or 7 innings in 110-degree heat. The bat might be a smidge slow.
The uniform might be a little heavier than it was at the beginning of the day. Odubel singled his last time up and scored a run. He's 1 for 3. Fouls it away, and it's 0-1.
Wanted to look into next year a little bit here, Matt. I've heard some talk about Altair as a center fielder. Talked in the opening today about Mr. Cousins, Mr. Hoskins, possibility of them being ready next year in the big leagues.
Yeah, at some point.
I can imagine this young man here being an odd man out, though, for sure. He is a good player.
No, I would agree. It's definitely a good problem to have.
Yep.
With all the talent in the minor leagues.
Hoskins also a first baseman, correct?
He's a first baseman. That's his primary position. I think Cousins, they project, would be a left fielder, but he could play right, but a left fielder. I think the good thing is that you have guys that can play multiple outfield positions if you need to. That ball's lined toward right center field. Man, is this a good sign? It's going to go all the way to the scoreboard. Can Howard put him up and put him down quick enough to get home? He's around third, heading home. LeMahieu's throw, it is not in time. Odubel's going to be out going to third, but the Phillies add a run. It's a 7-3 ball game. Look at the appreciation for the fans with Ryan Howard getting around the bases.
Look at his uniform, just
Oh, did he dive into home? I missed it. I was watching Odubel. A little muddy there, diving into home. Come on, big fella. Come on now.
Got off to a good start.
Whip it. Come on, baby.
He's still doing pretty good.
Yeah.
And about
Pick him up, put him down.
Right here, the parachute came out.
Dive!
He didn't miss a stride the whole way through.
So Howard scores on the double by Herrera. It's 7-3 Phillies here at the bottom of the 6th inning.
What do you give him on a 10 scale if you're a diving judge?
Canadian judge would give him a 10. Dude, we just like everybody. We would give
Well, Odubel is 2 for 4. Howard has scored a run. He's 1 for 3. Phillies now with 9 hits. Galvis takes a bit high, and it's 1 ball and 1 strike. Freddie not biting on that high pitch.
Odubel also lined out hard to left field his first time up. Hit the ball hard 3 times today.
Boy, they need him. Hopefully that's just a start for him to get back going. Put out at third goes 9-4-2-5 if you're wondering. If you have room on your score sheet for that, 9-4-2-5. Two balls, 2 strikes.
I think Freddie has he's starting to get a good idea about the fastball swing now. You know, we're seeing a lot of what I consider sort of downward plane swings on those high fastballs. Just like to see him get more confident on the, you know, staying back and waiting on that ball, knowing that you don't want to jump out there and panic on that ball in the dirt.
Loop out to right center field. Here comes Parra, and he'll run it down. Galvis is retired. But the Phils do add a run. How did they do it? Well, the wheels of Ryan Howard scoring all the way from first base on an extra base hit by Odubel Herrera. The Canadian judges gave him a 10. He also got a run. That's all that matters. day. 10 runs, 17 hits combined between the two ball clubs, and some mistakes. More for the Rockies than the Phillies. Our Delaware Valley Honda Dealers game summary. Charlie Blackmon a double and a home run. Jimmy Paredes is a triple shy of the cycle. As we go to the top of the 7th inning, David Hernandez will take over after pitching a scoreless 6th inning. He'll try to make it 2 in a row. 2 balls and no strikes to Blackmon. Phillies bullpen is quiet. Rockies have Oberg up in their bullpen. 9-game hitting streak for Blackmon. He extended that back in the 3rd. Hits this one well again. Out toward right. Alter's going back, and it is gone. It's his 2nd multi-home run game of this series. He has 5 homers in this series. And it's a 7-4 ball game, so the lead is back to 3 for the Phils.
Tell you what, this is a guy who's having one heck of a series here.
Yeah. 20 home runs now, and that is a career high for Blackmon.
He's got a launch angle. I mean, it's like a groove home run swing. How many balls can you launch at that angle perfectly?
Well, 5 for sure.
Without hitting ground balls. And then when he doesn't hit the home run, he's lining it down both lines.
LeMahieu takes a little outside and high, 1-0. 325 now for the batting average. The fortunate thing, and we'll say it again, he has 5 home runs. All 5 are solo home runs.
Well, what do you want? He's a leadoff hitter.
Well, that's true.
Well, I don't know why I wouldn't hit him 3rd or 4th.
How about what he's done during the 9-game hitting streak? So the 9-game hitting streak, he's hitting close to 600 during his 9-game hitting streak.
Well, wasn't it 19 to 30, 19 for 30 or something like that?
Before today, yeah. So he's got a couple of. He has 8 home runs during the 9-game hitting streak. 8 home runs. I mean, he's got 5 in 2 games.
You know, he's got a shot at Player of the Week.
I would think so.
Probably locked it in.
14 runs scored during the 9-game hitting streak. 2-2 to DJ LeMahieu.
I know one thing he's not going to do: shave that beard.
I don't even think he's going to trim it. Hit sharply to second. Glove side
Nice
for Hernandez.
Pick.
Brings Nolan Arenado to the plate. Here's our GMC precision play of the game. He made a great decision. And an excellent execution, too.
Yeah, nice play. As I said before, that's a upper level third base play. That's one you got to plan out, because, yeah, if it's hit to my left, I'm going to cut that run off.
Arenado waves at the first pitch. It's 0-1.
Now, we've been fortunate that we've been able to keep him at bay as a hitter. This guy's leading the league in almost every statistical category.
Yeah, the big ones: home runs, RBIs, definitely. His road trip, though, has not been great. He's 0-2 here. He's 1 for 17 on the road trip for the Rockies. That's the pitch they've been getting in a bite on.
You know, those old 1 for 17, that was the 18th at bat, 0-2 with the guy throwing 95. That's where you earn your money, man.
Over toward the hole, and a base hit for Arenado. It's his first of the series. It ends at 0 for 12. So that brings us to our Jeep Stump the Fans trivia quiz answer. All right, guys, who holds the Phillies single season record for highest fielding percentage by a second baseman?
Well, I mean,
go ahead, Smitty.
No, I mean,
We kind of broke it down, didn't we? Did we got time to tell us the answer?
I didn't tell you the answer.
I don't think we deserve.
I think Murph interviewed him earlier.
The ding-a-ling for figuring that one out. I think you
ding-a-ling.
too much.
No, you get the ding.
You got to say the name.
Polanco.
Placido
Polanco. That's right. Back in 2010, 986 fielding percentage.
And the way we found out is because you said, what, 2 Gold Gloves?
Yeah, Gold Glove at third, Gold Glove at second.
And I said, did he win at second base? And off the air, you said, oh, yeah. So we knew our answer.
And then we found out Darren Erstad is also a Gold Glove winner at 2 different positions. Those are the only 2 guys. Here's Descalso. He's 0 for 1. Came on to play first base for Rayburn. And he bounces it foul, 0-1. Hector Neris warming up in the pen.
You know, this Trevor Story's a heck of a story. Isn't it Story?
It is Story. Yep.
He's not even on this team.
Nope. Out with a ligament injury to his thumb.
Golly.
Yeah, I think if you look at their setup, if they can find a little bit more starting pitching, they're in pretty good shape.
Yeah, you're missing Trevor Story in the middle of the lineup. 27 home runs, 73 RBIs, hitting 272. Definitely very strong 1 through 5, 1 through 6.
Over the net, and it's 1-2.
I'd be tempted to play Ryan Howard straight away first base at this point in time. Descalso hitting.
And a strike 3 call. And Hernandez picks up his second strikeout. I believe the dugout is chirping. Descalso obviously is.
I mean, he took that pitch like there was no doubt in his mind, you know, that it was low.
Looked like it was right across the knees.
Top of the front knee, that's for sure. Still too close to take with 2 strikes.
I used to hate that phrase when I played ball.
Too close to take? Yeah.
Well, how about all the ones I took that were close that didn't get called strikes? Were they too close to take as well?
Those were excellent decisions on your part, Mike. Oh, 1 pitch up high. Two and 1.
Let's play, Cameron.
So, why not play Ryan behind straight away first base? I don't think Arenado's a good runner. I don't see him running, and that just because Ryan is playing straight away first base. I don't think that would change anything. We'd just cover more ground, wouldn't we?
Well, no, I would agree. Play right behind him.
Well, not even really behind him. Go ahead and play regular first base.
The only thing I can see of is that if he's not holding him on, he gets a bigger lead, a better secondary lead. He can score on a double easily. Where if you're holding him on, maybe he doesn't score on a double. Maybe.
There's a throw over. I say 3 and 1, right?
3 balls, 1 strike.
Pull count.
Three and 2. You know, I can tell Adrian Johnson's body language as Dahl was ready to toss that bat aside that he was about to call it a strike. But Dahl just didn't look back and see it.
Well, we may want to look at the difference in height of those two pitches.
It's
the
a
one
big
that called
strike zone.
Descalso out on. Well, that was a delayed call.
I think he was just building up for the call. Runner goes, pitch is high, ball 4. Yeah, that puts runners on first and second, and it brings the tying run to the plate. And here comes Pete. He's going to make a double switch. Peter Bourjos will check in. And Hector Neris is going to come out of the bullpen for the Phillies. Well, it's gotten tight again. There's Peter Bourjos. So a pitching change, a position change. We'll be back right after this. Corner in January. When the weather's cold here, it'll be nice and warm down in Clearwater, January 18th to the 22nd. 5 days, 4 nights. If you're 30 years old or older, it's your chance of a lifetime. Package includes hotel accommodations, practice with and instruction from baseball greats, Phillies greats like Mickey Morandini, Greg Luzinski, Mike Lieberthal. Those are just to name a few. Fantasy game versus the legends at Bright House Field. Personalized Phillies uniform and so much more. Call 610-520-3400 for more information. So Altair moves to center field as Bourjos comes in. Bourjos will bat 9th. Hector Neris into his 60th game. He certainly has been the workhorse for the Phillies bullpen this year. At ERA of 2.40, and he is on to face Nick Hundley. And if the last 2 at-bats for Hundley are any indication, then Hector's got to watch out.
Chuck and duck.
Yep. Hundley hit one back off the forearm of Adam Morgan, knocked him out of the game, and then hit one off the leg of David Hernandez. First pitch is at the knees, and it's 0-1. You know, you have games where every pitch hitters will say something to the umpire. Yeah, or pitchers will complain. And this is one of those ball games. Can't complain about that.
Well, as an offensive player, can't believe I'm saying this, but he actually has had a good zone today because he's been consistent. The high strike, the low strike on both sides. Remember, Cesar Hernandez, first at bat, struck out on a high slider up and away. And he hasn't changed the whole game.
Smothered it by Cameron Rupp. It's 2 balls, or 1 ball and 2 strikes.
It's different if you have an umpire behind home plate who 1 inning will call the high pitch and then 2 innings later he won't call the high pitch. He's been consistent the whole day.
One ball, 2 strikes. Gerardo Parra is on deck. Over toward third, charging is Franco, and he will tag out Arenado. And the Rockies lead 2 here in the 7th inning. They do get a run on the Blackmon homer. Time to stretch with the Phils up top by 3 as we go to the bottom of the 7th. Three-game series against the Dodgers. They're up by 3 here against the Rockies. Time now for a Hyundai defensive plays of the game. All right, it's been a sloppy game, but Cameron Rupp behind the plate. He's been throwing the ball pretty well.
Yeah, there was a good. There's a good tag by Cesar. Thought we had the base stolen. No, high change up, and there's another weird play. Part of the old Bad News Bears game going on there. Kind of ran into a looked like a double steal or some kind of a safety bunt or something that didn't get pulled off, and those were the 2 Hyundai defensive plays of the game, brought to you by your local Hyundai dealers.
Well, as we go to the bottom of the 7th inning, Scott Oberg will be the new pitcher for the Rockies. So Oberg will take over for Jake McGee. And he will face Jimmy Paredes, who is a triple away from the cycle here this afternoon. He's got 3 RBIs, which ties his season high. It's his first 3-hit game of the season. It's his 15th of his career.
All you have to do is hit the same ball you hit for the home run again, and just hit a little bit shorter.
Hit it off that wall in left center field. Let it roll along the warning track. It'll be Paredes and then Borges, who came out as part of the double switch in the top of the 7th inning. Phillies need 6 more outs. All right, guys, so Alumni Weekend wraps up. It's been a great weekend. Somebody said to me the other day what a show it was Friday night with Jim Thome being inducted into the Wall of Fame, and then Ryan Howard's Grand Slam. I think that's the best way of putting it. It was a great show, very entertaining from start, from the ceremonies on through the ball game, which is what Alumni Weekend's supposed to be.
I would agree, and I think Atlanta does it. Weren't you in Atlanta?
I was in Atlanta, yeah.
But I don't know that every team does it. But I know one thing: the Phillies do it first class. We stay in a beautiful hotel. They take care of us there. Visit with a lot of players you don't get to see on television, so you get an update like Al Holland, for example. Not a lot of people have seen Al Holland for a while. Did a great interview yesterday, and it's just a great weekend. I'm glad they do it. I'm glad to be a part of it.
And it culminates tomorrow. All 3 of us will be playing in a golf outing tomorrow. Yep.
Who are we going to be losing some weight tomorrow?
We are. There is the Wall of Fame. You can visit anytime you come to the ballpark. See Charlie Manuel's plaque there. Charlie and I used to do a TV show when he was the manager here. And there was a segment that we did from time to time where we would go out and we'd look at the Wall of Fame plaques and he would talk about the guys on the wall. You know, old-time players and what he thought of them when he met. He met so many guys during the course of his lifetime. Even, though his baseball career culminated with the Phillies organization. So here's Paredes, 0-1 to Paredes, and 0-2.
Is that the same segment when you used to make pasta with him?
The same show, yeah. We made pasta the one time. He always wanted to do more cooking. Saw Bobby Cox when we were in Atlanta and reminded Bobby that Charlie's favorite show on the Charlie Emanuel TV show was his sit down with Bobby Cox. And Bobby said, I couldn't believe how good of an interviewer he was. 0-2 pitch to Paredes. Hit back toward the middle, off the glove of Oberg, picked up. And Paredes smelled another hit, but he is thrown out by the shortstop. 1-6-3 on the putout. Actually, that may just wind up being 6-3.
Well, Charlie came a tremendously long way in his media skills over the years,
yes,
right?
He did. Yes, he did.
To from being uncomfortable and not enjoying it and trying to stay away from it to starring in a TV show with you, right?
We had a lot of fun, I'll tell you that much.
He's good with that microphone. He's a wonderful job introducing Jim the other day, and in the luncheon for Jim. He's comfortable now, and the fans love him. And they introduce Charlie Emanuel. He always gets the biggest applause.
1-0 pitch is swung out and missed, 1-1. Borges up for the first time.
Over the years, and it's amazing the way that, of course, winning and being the winning manager and the winningest manager of all time with the Phillies, that's surely a big part of it. But he endeared himself to the fans. In the beginning, he had a rough time.
He did. Yes, he did. Wanted to. By the way, that luncheon that you talked about, the Jim Thome luncheon, you can watch it tomorrow on CSN at 7 o'clock.
Is that right?
Yeah.
The Jim Thome, This Is Your Life.
This is your life. That's exactly right.
Actually, it's This Is Your Phillies Life, pretty much.
1-2 pitch to Borges. Hit the opposite way, and wow, between the 5-hole.
Ball's hit hard. That's a shortstop over there, right? Playing first base.
Descalso. Fourth error of the day for the Rockies.
And that didn't really look like it was that bad of a hop. It just looked like the ball was hit really hard.
I think he just comes up on it. See if he stays down the glove. Boop, peekaboo.
Yeah, I should say that was a tough hop. That was like right off the infield grass lip.
I remember when I first started playing first base and I was asking some guys, what should I do? They said, block and shovel. You take it off the chest,
hockey
you pick
goalie.
it up, and you flip it to the guy covering the base.
Right, pretend you're a hockey goalie.
Fanatic feels like he had something to do with that. Let's see what he can do with Cesar here. Cesar takes low. Cesar's been on base twice. He has singled and walked.
I gotta believe Peter Borges is not going to be at first base for long. Oberg's very slow to home.
Whoa. God, that's a dangerous ball. That
Sure
guy's got
was.
in it. He didn't catch that ball,
I think
did
he caught it. Yep.
I think the ball caught him.
Well, either way.
Wait a minute. Bare hand that ball?
No, I'm thinking he wore that in the chest.
Oh my God. We need to see that.
She just said, I got it. I caught it.
Well, Borges' contusion can't be that bad, right?
I guess not. Runner goes. Pitch is hit off the hands. Back toward the middle. There's one. And the throw goes past Descalso. Cesar will hold up at first. All right, so Adames is signaling to the dugout that there might have been a bad slide there. It didn't look like it. He was just trying to do a lot in a short period of time. Tom Runnels, who's the bench coach who usually goes to the phone on the video replays, didn't really think it was that bad.
I mean, can you hit a ball any better straight up the middle? And unfortunately, your shortstop's covering. That's a legit slide.
Yeah.
If anything, maybe the hip popped out.
Yeah, really. I think he just nonchalanted the throw to first.
Yeah, he had time. So now Altair is the batter with the runner at first. Let's see what Cesar does. They think he might be running, so they throw over. Put out a 6 unassisted at second base. Whacked out to short. And Adames goes the short way. And the Phillies leave a base runner here in the 7th inning. 7 in the books here in Philadelphia. Game 3 of the series between the Phils and the Rockies. 100 and what? It doesn't matter to the fanatic. He's as cool as the other side of the pillow. By Toyota, the annual clearance sale is going on now. Toyota, let's go places. By Jefferson, call 800-JEFF now or visit jefferson.edu. And by Chevrolet, visit your local dealer at chevydealer.com. Phillies try to sweep out the Rockies, try to win their 4th consecutive game. Every time the Phillies pitchers retire, the opposition 1-2-3. Comcast will make a contribution to Phillies charities. Phillies baseball is brought to you by Xfinity. Xfinity X1 will change the way you experience TV. Back toward the middle, flagged down by Neris. 1 pitch and 1 away.
That's just plain bad baseball. Down 3 runs in the 8th inning.
If you swing at the first pitch.
Wave at the first pitch. That's bad baseball even if you get a base hit. I don't care what anybody says. Right?
Well, this has not been textbook today by the Rockies by any stretch. Phillies trying to win 4 straight for the first time since the first week in July. Adames, who is 1 for 2, hit by pitches last time. He takes a strike. It's 0-1.
You know, I watched Hector the whole year, and I've come to the conclusion that he could probably pitch the rest of this inning, the rest of this game, come in tomorrow, because his delivery is so simple. Like, you know how a lot of guys just gear up to get that extra oomph on a fastball?
Like Chatwood.
He doesn't have it.
Yeah.
Like, there's no energy in his delivery, but he's got tremendous arm speed and arm strength with his fastball and a split finger. You watch this delivery. It's nice and easy. Oh, here we go, split, have a seat. Like, it doesn't look like he gets rattled, like he doesn't break a sweat. It's impressive.
With 2 outs, here's Paulson. Paulson pinch hitting. There's also an air of confidence that wasn't there in previous years with Hector.
You're right, and there is. And I think sometimes, I think when Stanton hit a home run off him earlier this year, he kind of shied away from being that aggressive and pitching the contact. But then all of a sudden you got a couple outs. I believe we talked it on the air, saying he needs an easy inning right here to help him. And he did, and he got the confidence back. But, I mean, ask Schmidt. Pitching is all about confidence as well. If you don't have confidence when you're in that batter's box or on the mound, you have no chance.
And that's also, that pitch is so good. It doesn't have to be, you know, it doesn't have to be perfect all the time. I mean, it can be hung in the middle of the plate and still, because it's changing speeds and he's got the 95 to go with it, it's still tough to square it up.
Kept casually walks off the mound after this split. No chance for Paulson.
5 of the last 6 hitters he struck out. That's why he's having a great year.
What's going around baseball? Greater coverage of baseball presented by T-Mobile. And what bad news for the Miami Marlins. The last play of last night's game, Giancarlo Stanton trying to stretch a single into a double, pulled up lame in between first and second base. He had an MRI today, and we are told that he is going to miss the rest of the season. Is Giancarlo Stanton for the Marlins. The Marlins, of course, just a half a game out of the wild card chase right now. That is a huge, huge loss for them. He is out for the rest of the year. And we told you last night in our greater coverage of baseball that Francisco Mejia's hitting streak in the minor leagues was done at 49. Well, not so fast. A scoring decision last night has been changed. An error has now been changed to a hit. It was, in fact, a double last night. He has now hit in 50 straight games. That is the 4th longest streak in baseball history, and it continues. Now, it won't continue today. He is not in the Lynchburg Hillcats lineup today, but he stands at 50 games and counting right now, does Francisco Mejia in minor league baseball, guys.
It's incredible. I didn't see the play to see what it was changed to, why it was changed.
Yeah, I didn't either. And you come down to the last inning. If you need to come off the bench to pinch hit, do you use them? Or do you use the pitcher?
Yeah, you see, I mean, there's that crew that found to change that ought to work on Tomey's extra RBI. Right?
Now that's a good idea.
To get him up to 1,700. That Stanton story, though, what a shame that is. Oh, man.
Did you see the play last night? It was a little flare to right field, and the right fielder came in dove for it, and it was 2 outs in the 9th inning. But he busted his tail down the line and thought he'd get to second base. He got about right to where the umpire is at second base, about 15 feet away. Blew out the groin. I mean, just collapsed.
What a shame. Well, they do have Ichiro that will fill in for him, but still, that's a huge bat to lose. Howard takes a first pitch fastball, and it's 0-1. Howard is 1 for 3.
Well, Franco's got 2 base on balls today.
Mm-hmm. He does.
That's a start.
Howard fouls it.
He's got more walks this year than he did last year. I think he has more at bats, but at least he has 32 walks now.
And Howard strikes out on a 97-mile-an-hour heater. And what a way for Cameron Rupp. Cameron has scored a couple runs today. He does not have a base hit, though. He's also driven in a run. Tommy Joseph is out in the on-deck circle to pinch hit. Runner goes. Pitch is taken for a strike. Throw to second is high, and Maikel Franco has a stolen base. His first of the year.
Get that goose egg off of that that column.
Well, talk about it, not even paying attention. He actually had a very good jump.
It's a long time since his last stolen base. Down and away, and it's 1 ball, 1 strike. 100 miles an hour on that pitch.
It's his second career stolen base, isn't it?
Second career one, but as he showed everybody, it was his
one of the
first this year.
I'm on the board.
Yep.
They should have given him the base.
Swing and a miss. 1-2. 100 again. Back-to-back 100-mile-an-hour pitches.
Wow. Doesn't look that. Up here, it just doesn't look that hard. Probably would down there. But
Yeah, yeah. That looked pretty hard
That
right there.
sounded hard.
wow, I hear you. That's triple figures there. That's what it sounds like. How'd that feel when it cracked the glove? Cameron better get into his little bit of a chop swing here, short, quick, and down. He's going to go to 100 up in the zone.
Two balls, 2 strikes to Rupp.
How about? Yep.
There's Tommy Joseph waiting to hit. Genmar Gomez is warming up in the bullpen. It is a save situation at this point. And Rupp fouls another one up. He spoils a breaking pitch. Rockies have lost 8 of 10, including the first 2 games of this series. Phils are trying to put an exclamation point on this 3-game series. Yeah. It does feel that way, the way Nolan Arenado is feeling right now. And a line drive, base hit it to right field. Broncos around third. He'll be held there. Parra lets it fly over the head of the cutoff man. RBI single, and it puts runners on first and third here in the 8th inning.
That's the Cameron Rupp I know. Huh? Get a little fastball down. It was only probably 97, 98. Break it to right field.
But what a difference, though. His first couple of swings, trying to hit the ball a mile, over swinging for a guy throwing hard. It just seemed like more pitches that he saw, he backed off on a swing, realizing that the pitcher generates most of the power.
So here's Tommy Joseph in the pitcher spot with a chance to get this to a 4-run lead with 1 man down. So the home plate umpire makes the adjustment to the lineup card. Yep, you got to make a decision quickly when it comes to Estevez. Popped him up. Shallow left center field. It's a long run in for Dahl. Out is Adames. The catcher, shortstop, excuse me, makes the catch. And the catcher says to cut it off, and there are 2 outs. All right, so Tommy Joseph is retired.
Yeah, Tommy got a little bit of a hanger here on an 0-1 pitch. Yeah, he's trying to just get that run in, and the ball got in on him a little bit, up and under it. Hitters hate to lose those RBI chances.
Freddie Galvis will now bat with the Phillies on top by 3 here in the bottom of the 8th inning. Galvis today has a hit, a run scored, an RBI. Pops it up foul, and it's 0-1. Well, the 9th inning is Genmar's no matter what. Right now it's a save situation. Even if they score a run, he's going to come in, because he's the only one throwing out in the bullpen. There he is.
Plus a day off tomorrow.
Oh, and 2.
Put and play, Fred. Go to your little hunt and peck stroke.
Well, he wanted it up. That's way up, and it's 1 ball and 2 strikes. Well, you can see why they like Estevez, and you can see why he's a little frustrating. 22 pitches. He throws 100. And somehow has not, at least in the games we've seen, has not consistently commanded it. And he goes after the high fastball, and Galvis strikes out. And the Phillies leave a couple. So it is a safe situation as we go to the top of the 9th inning here at Citizens Bank Park. The top of the order due up for the Rockies. Give his analysis on today's series finale, as Marshall talked about during our cut-in. It has not been the prettiest of games, particularly for the Rockies. They've committed 4 errors today, 7 in this series. That's all coming up on Cure Auto Insurance presents Phillies Postgame Live. Tommy Joseph stays in to play first base. The new pitcher is Genmar Gomez, and his first task is to somehow retire Charlie Blackmon. Gomez picked up his 30th save last night. 30 saves in 33 opportunities. He is it's the 16th time in Phillies franchise history that somebody's gotten to 30 saves or more. Blackmon, 2 home runs today, a double, 3 runs scored, hitting .325, and he takes outside, 1 ball and no strikes. We showed you before, Genmar is among the league leaders in saves, with Familia leading the way for the Mets. Fly ball left field. Paredes into the shadows, and they finally do get Blackmon. Well, it's going to be good to see him go.
Still don't agree with it. Down 3 runs. I'd
take a strike.
Maybe I'm done. I need to just table that conversation. Huh?
Mike, I think the more you say it, eventually they're going to listen to you about it.
Well, I don't want the opposition to listen, but that's the way you play baseball.
I think your next column, you should write that.
I think I've done a couple on that.
Here's LeMahieu. LeMahieu today has an RBI double. He's also flied out twice and grounded out to second. In there for strike 0-1.
I don't know. You take Blackmon, for example, against Gomez, who's not really a strikeout pitcher. Wouldn't you think that he's fine with 2 strikes, down 3 to nothing?
I definitely think he's
or
fine.
Or 1 strike anyway.
Particularly the way he's swinging the bat,
yeah.
I think he's fine. One ball and 1 strike. Two and 1.
You know, when I talked about Genmar in the Open today, and you know, there's a lot of great things that go around in baseball, and he's one of the big stories in baseball this year, I believe, with the 30 saves. Definitely the biggest story for the Phillies this year is the season he's having with the 30 saves, jumping in that role to be the closer. Where when he came to spring training, he was probably thinking either a mop-up guy or a seventh inning guy.
Yeah, the Phillies are where they are because of their one-run victories, but because of what he's done and what Hector Neris has done.
No question. No question.
2 balls, 2 strikes. Outside 3-2.
How about this theory that Genmar not necessarily have what you would consider closer's stuff, in the sense that he's not a strikeout pitcher, he's a ground ball pitcher. You know, he keeps the ball off the sweet spot of the bat, whereas Neris is more of a strikeout pitcher. But in the order they're used, I think it's more effective for Genmar. In other words, he's pitching more often in a more high pressure situation when there's more pressure on the hitters. You know, the last inning, 1-run, 2-run lead. Hitters have pressure on them. Hitters want to be the hero. He can move that ball around and entice them, and
don't want to be the last out.
Yeah, he can get you 2 outs real quick on one pitch. Not that Hector can't, but he's really found his niche this year for sure. Man, it's going to be fun watching what they do in spring training. I don't know how you can not come right out and think this guy's a closer.
Well, unless you make a move or put somebody. I mean, you have to let him do it.
I mean, he's proven to me that he can close games on a championship ball club.
Again, the 3-2 pitch coming to LeMahieu. Outside, ball 4. So a base runner for the Rockies here in the top of the 9th. This is the graphic that we showed you at the start of the game. He is 5th in the National League. Familia 39 saves. And Melanson, who is the closer now for the Nationals after spending most of the year with the Pirates.
Ramos just went on the DL, right? A couple days ago for the Marlins.
Yeah, Rodney was the closer today.
Yeah, Ramos went on the DL.
So Arenado, who singled his last time up, he takes on the inside corner, a 93-mile-an-hour sinker, and it's 0-1.
Kind of like the idea right now that Gonzalez has already been used in this game.
Yep. On the Toyota Major League scoreboard, Pittsburgh is on top of the Dodgers 5-1. Sean Rodriguez hit a 400-foot home run, a 3-run shot, his 12th of the year. Ball's hit toward third, past the diving Franco, and that puts runners on first and second. So the tying run coming to the plate, just like last night.
Well, it always happens when you sing their praises, doesn't it? They get in a little trouble.
Well, we did that last night, and he brought the tying run to the plate, too. So here's Descalso. Descalso is 0 for 2 today. He came on for Rayburn. We never received a report about Rayburn if he was injured, if that's why he left. Rockies are 2 for 9 with runners in scoring position. As you know, as good as it looks, the Phillies have 7 runs. The Phillies are 5 for 17 today with runners in scoring position.
Well, you know what it's good about that? 17
opportunities. This is Descalso last night against Jared Eickhoff. This was a 2-run home run. Outside 2-0. And Cameron's going to go out and talk to Genmar again. He's kind of nibbling a little bit now with Descalso at the plate. Runners in scoring position. The Rockies in this series are 3 for 23. The Phillies, of course, 12 for 45.
I would be, we talked about guarding the line last night in the game. And we said, you know, it's manager preference. I'd like it in this situation. I would take the double down the first base line away from Descalso, just because Gomez is such a, you know, ground ball getter.
There's a ground ball. That could be two. Hernandez to second for one. Wide throw, so they won't turn two. I don't know if they would have gotten it anyway, but Tommy Joseph says, let's take a look at it. Now, they can just ask the crew chief, even though they have their challenge. 4-6 of the put out at second base.
Tell you what, it's a great play by Freddie to make sure he got one there.
Yep, he's there.
Safe at first.
Now, Arenado wants them to look at second base with the Rockies, but I think Freddie held onto the bag.
I really do. I mean, I think they're aware that they have to, you know, the daylight play isn't in play anymore, right?
It is not.
And especially if the throw is a little wild.
So David Dahl will be the batter with 2 runners on. There's the play at second. He is.
Oh, he has it, and he dragged his toe.
Dahl takes outside. Runner goes from first. Pitch is swung out and missed. You saw the signs given by Cameron Rupp.
Hold.
Basically.
Basically, I'm eating it. I'm not throwing it.
It scored defensive indifference.
Which I disagree.
Yeah, I think at this point in the game, it's a 3-run ball game.
7-4 game. You stole second.
Yep. You don't think if they score 2 here, there's more pressure on Genmar? 1 ball, 1 strike. Dahl takes low, 2-1. It's a crazy rule.
And my thoughts on it is that whenever you are not being held on at first base and you take second base, it should be a stolen base because they're actually playing behind you at first base to take the hole away.
Right.
And that give you a better chance to get a hit.
2-1 pitch on the outside corner, 2-2. You go another step. So there was a force at second and first for the final out. Now there's just a force at first.
Right.
On their feet as they hope for a series sweep. Genmar Gomez has got himself into a little bit of a pickle here. 2 balls and 2 strikes. Pitch is low, 3-2.
What would he throw here, catcher? I know you're not a catcher, you're an outfielder, but.
You know what? I mean, look, I'm always against throwing into a guy's strength for a pull power. But that front door sinker just started
meaning started off the plate inside.
Started off inside the plate and freeze in front and inside.
He's set to go. Here's the 3-2. Outside, ball 4. That'll load up the bases. Second walk of the game for Dahl. And Hundley will bat. So the bases are loaded. And Nick Hundley, who has 2 hits today, he's 2 for 4. Two men down, bases are loaded. The Rockies are not going away quietly here. Hundley's numbers with the bases loaded for his career. And a line drive out towards center. It's not deep. Here comes Altair. It's going to drop in front of him for a hit. And 2 runs will score. This is a 1-run game. It's 7-6 with a tying run at third as Hundley goes back through the middle again. His 3rd hit of the day.
Yeah, this one he does not hit good. Gets it off the handle. Outfielders were playing real deep right then. I mean, check them out. They were way back there. Ball not off the handle, but wasn't on the sweet spot. I tell you, if they were playing normal depth, he probably would have caught that ball.
Yeah. So again, Dahl goes over to third, and it's first and third. Bob McClure out to talk to Jeanmar Gomez.
Now it comes down to that ground ball to second base. What if a better feed to you know, turn the 4-6-3 double play?
Yeah, there's.
Yes.
This is not a fundamentally sound ball game.
No, it's not.
So Gerardo Parra is the batter. He's 1 for 4. As the runners lead off first and third. Parra breaks his bat, loops it out towards center. Here comes Altair. He's under it, says he has it, and the Phillies have completed a 3-game sweep of the Colorado Rockies. They've won 4 straight. They hang on and win it 7-6 this afternoon.
Had them all the way, boys.
Amazing how relaxed everybody's gotten since that ball broke the bat of Gerardo Parra. The first series sweep against the Rockies in Philadelphia since 2012.
Enjoyed being with you. I know you guys got some more work to do here post game, but it was nice. See you next Saturday.
All right, Michael. We'll see you tomorrow at golf. Enjoy
That's right.
the dinner tonight for Mr. Giles. The Rockies have lost 3 straight. The Phillies are closing in on them in the race for the final wild card spot. Time now for our WB Mason deliveries of the game. Jimmy Paredes provided them.
They had a very good game. Second inning gets a base hit up the middle. Gavin Rupp scores. And then the 4th inning gets a 3-2 fastball down in the zone and destroys this ball to left center for a second hit of the game. Another RBI. Then the 5th inning, the big hit I think of the game is a fastball down and in. 0-2 count. Good read by Odubel Herrera, second base, to score. And for that, he's down in the field with our own Greg Murphy. Murph, take it away.
All right, thank you very much, Matt. Well, the weather was red hot, and so was the bat of Jimmy Paredes. 3 hits today, a triple short of the cycle. You know, you don't get an opportunity to play every day. How do you make sure that when you do get the opportunity, that you're ready to go?
I try to be ready every time because you don't know when they give you opportunity to play. You know, I make sure to be ready. They give me the chance to play. I do the best I can to help the team to win.
We had a shot of you in the dugout after your home run, celebrating with a couple of the guys, and Tom made a comment about how likable this group of guys is and how much you guys get along and how much fun you're having. That's a true statement, right? With you and all the guys?
No, say it again?
How much fun that you have with all your teammates and the rest of the guys?
Oh, it's unbelievable, you know, because those guys try to be happy, try to have energy, and that's what I try to do too. Like they put some energy to stay the guy happy, you know, like ready to go. Like I'm here, we're here.
And always with a smile on your face. Finally, did you think about the triple in your final at bat?
Yeah,
a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, that's the purpose. Try to, but I want to try to do the best I can when I get to a strike, like like short and quick, and I don't get it, but we wait for another opportunity, you know.
We look forward to it, Jimmy. Thanks for your time, guys. Back upstairs.
All right, Murph. Thank you. Honesty is the best policy, Jimmy. Did you think about it? Yes, I did. 7-6 the final score. The Phillies have defeated the Rockies. They've swept them out, won 4 straight. We'll be back to wrap things up for Philadelphia right after this.